Welcome to another edition of the Roar of the Lions UK podcast, episode 355, Season's Predictions. I have no idea what to call this show, but God help me, it is going to be about the 2025 NFL season and the Detroit Lions season predictions, because, boys, we are here. It is week one as we turn into September 1st today. I'm Matthew Turner alongside Anthony Fitzpatrick and Ashley Soden. How you doing, boys?
It's been a roller coaster of a weekend for me, sports wise. That's all I'm going to say.
Just some of us are top of our league and doing well, so we're pretty decent. So, and some of us spent like 200 billion on players, and when they talk about being cheap all the time and that, so it's
Another
what is it?
130 million today.
Five positions out of 11. They've got the most expensive player in the league, and yet they're poor old them who are so frugal.
When Paddy Power make an advert saying that Philip Coutinho money's going a bit far now, you gotta laugh.
True, yeah, Jesus.
Anyway, enough about soccer. We are here for proper football, and by that we mean that we have hit September, boys. It is Monday, September 1. This is week one of the NFL season. I know college ball has started, and that has whet the appetite. But this is maybe the most anticipated Lions season in years. And I have said that for the last few years in a row. But having got to the NFC Championship game under this regime of having the franchise record in regular season wins, it feels like this season especially, there's an element of not now or never about it. But in order to keep getting better, the ceiling can only go so far. You kind of need to do it now.
Mm-hmm.
There's no excuses this year. You've no first ever number one seed to go after, no first ever 15-win season to go after, no first NFC North title in 30 years to go after. You've done all that, flaccid on the wall stuff. Right now, you've got to go out and get results. The moral victories are done, and this is where you've got to put your big boy pants on and you've got to prove that you can be one of the best teams in the league. Because for me, I'm not going to let them sit behind an excuse of competing every year. You're in year six now. It's only, going to keep getting harder. New teams are only going to keep coming up every year. This is your time to be the team when you've still not got half your rookies under big, massive fuck-off deals yet, and you can still be a little bit flexible cap-wise. So there's no excuses here as far as I'm going. You've got to go out, man up this year and show you're one of the best teams in the league. And, no feeling sorry for yourself because you've lost coordinators, anything like that, or because you did bad last year. You've nothing to hide behind now.
Yeah, 100%. Like, there's only one of those kind of things that we need to break now, and it's the big boy. It's getting to that Super Bowl and winning it. That's the only hurdle now that this team has in front of it. So, yeah, there's only one way, in the words of Yaz, the only way is up. Well, we're getting to that point now where the only way to get the up is to reach the peak of the mountain, theoretically, and get into that Super Bowl, win it. Like, that's the only way to keep improving. But at the same time, we all know every given Sunday in that this team is due, as you listen to any of these podcasts, the team is due to regression in some places, blah, blah, blah. We're probably not going to hit that 15 win ceiling again, but it's not about the regular season anymore. We've gone from being that team that's doing mock drafts in October to September, October, November ball doesn't really matter. It's December onwards that matters for us now. We've gone into that echelon with the Buffalo Bills, the Kansas City Chiefs, the Baltimore Ravens, the Philadelphia Eagles, where we know unless something major happens, we're not that we're going to make it to the dance. And now it's how long can we last on the dance floor before our feet fall off?
Just want to thank Big Area 70 for subscribing at Tier 1 for their 44th month. That must be one of the longest tenured people we've had, so thank you, Big Area. Says, need to separate good team from great team. Great teams win postseason games. Absolutely. And just before we go into the rest of the preamble, many thanks to everybody who donated for our charity stream. We ended up raising, I believe, $1,111.11, and I absolutely love the number. Thank you very much for that. I have tried to donate the money. Now, for the UK charity, that's not a problem, but I want to do it together. For our US charity friends, I did not check that they would easily accept international donations. So I'm currently trying to raise them to try and figure out a solution to that. We will be posting the proof on our Twitter as soon as that happens, and I'm going to try and do it as soon as possible because I don't want it to drag, because that's not a good thing and the money could be better used elsewhere. So keep your eyes peeled for that. And if you've got a good contact for them, that'd be great. They're hard to get a hold of over here. Anyway, we'll make something work. Regardless, preamble, news, season predictions coming up. Please do join our Discord channel. It's week 1. There's no better time to come and join us. We've just done our Fantasy League draft. I'm considering doing a second one because it went very, very well and very quickly. So if you'd like to get in on that, then do come and join the channel. It's in the live chat right now or is on the audio description of the podcast. College Football Podcast, then, is coming up later on this week, and I'm going to presume you're going to talk about one of the best week ones in living memory.
It was really, really good. I think the last top 10 matchup on a week 1 was back in 2017, and we got 3 this weekend alone. So, and they were very defensive things as well for the most part. So if you like your sicko defensive style football, then it was absolutely the weekend for you. And my 2 boys are absolutely ripping shit up at quarterback, so absolutely love that. So yeah, it was a good fun week. And Brent's going to look forward to this one as well. Very, 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 very much. I'm sure he is already.
He is in the chat, you know.
I know he is. I was just going to mention it to him there. He's no hiding, Brent. There's no hiding.
The only person with a bigger reaction to week 1 than Brent is clearly Ash with a ridiculous victory. You said it was a mixed bag. Well, you had the awfulness of Aston Villa deciding that they're going to get relegated, but FSU decided they were going to be a team again.
Exactly, and the Tigers won pretty handily as well, even though they're currently 6-5 down to the Mets. I'm just watching on my phone as well. It's a roller coaster, but hey ho, here's the Lions to hopefully make it even better for me. That's the way to look at it.
Please do like this episode, sub to the podcast, you know what to do by now, and follow our friends at Lions Nation Unite, Herman Moore's project to bring the best in Lions content creators together. Right, news. Since the last time we were here, quite a lot happened. We went through live who the 53 was, but we didn't know what the practice squad was at the time, so we're going to briefly go through the signings since the practice squad, who's on the practice squad, and a little bit of this and that that's happened since. Then we're going to go into our season predictions, which is a consensus of us all. I'm going to go through the individual predictions that we've given, talk through each game. We'll have some context on each one as well. Here are the roster moves that we've had. The practice squad players were running back Jacob Sailors, who a lot of people didn't think would be able to make it through waivers. Of course he did. Wide receivers Ronnie Bell, Tom Kennedy, and Jackson Meeks. I think there was, again, a lot of surprise that Jackson Meeks made it through waivers, but he did. Tight end Zach Horton, and then offensive lineman Tristan Colon, Mason Miller, Michael Neese, and Dan Skipper. Everyone breathed a sigh of release when Dan was re-signed, I think. Defensive lineman Miles Adams and Keith Cooper Jr. Again, another one who was a bit of a surprise cut potentially, and he made it through waivers. Edge Isaac Ukwu, linebacker Anthony Pittman, DB Eric Hallett II, and safety Lauren Strickland. We have signed safety Daniel Thomas to the active roster and claimed off waivers defensive lineman Tyler Lacey from Jacksonville, defensive end Tyrus Wheat from Dallas, and safety Thomas Harper from the Las Vegas Raiders. And a lot happening in there. I know that we kind of talked about the players that got cut before. I do find the signings a bit of a mixed bag in terms of who we've actually claimed or just signed to the main roster. It's a bag of nothing for me, but what a positive to get some of the guys that we actually cut off the 53 back on the practice squad.
Yeah, the practice squad's good. It's got some good depth to it this year. There's plenty of players that, that with the right development could eventually take some of those 45 to 53 spots on the roster and give you even more depth. So, I'm really happy with the ones we've got in there. Like, you look at them and you reckon even half of them now would be able to come in and do some form of job for you right away, which for a practice squad is incredibly good. And I say there's a lot of good young talent on there. It's just, who do you protect? And then obviously it's going to be, when all the first teamers start returning from injury and that, we may start hemorrhaging a little bit of talent. But hey, it's a good problem to have. So yeah, practice squad is looking great. As for the others, I'm with you. It's a whole bag of nothing which has been bought in to supplement the end of the roster, which is odd. Because I look at some of these guys and I'm like, are you really better than what I've got sitting on my practice squad. And I get, you want to sort of stash guys away on the practice squad and have as many players as you can, but you earn your way onto this roster, and guys like Kennelly, and you thought Kennelly had earned his way onto this roster. Strickland's been around. You think he'd earned his way onto this roster. Then you just send some random nobody who's not really done a whole great deal in his career. It's like, it is what it is, though. Like I say, at least we've got the guys back on the practice squad. I'd probably been a bit more pissed if we'd brought some of these guys in and we'd lost out on them altogether. So, and who knows, like these three, they're probably going to be gone when guys start coming back from injury, which should hopefully be fairly soon. So, yeah, it is a bit of a nothing burger with those.
I did miss one line of all of those people, which was very helpfully reminded by Carlton Wood in the chat. It was actually on the prep doc, I just missed it, which is that we also signed to the practice squad the defensive end and former Army standout Andre Carter II. What about him?
I mean, he was last good when I had hair, so yeah, that's kind of really a bit of
That was a very long time ago.
That's what I mean. Like that's how long ago that his great season was. People forget he had the one great year at Army, and then he flamed out completely, and he's done nothing since. So I don't think you're going to see a great deal from him. He might hang around for a bit, and then, but his best football's long behind him, and he's not really done a great deal in the league either. So I'm not really expecting much from that. That's just a let's see what we can get from him. I mean, I guess kind of a bit hypocritical. I'm saying I want guys who can rush the passer, and he can do that. So we will see. I'm just not holding out much hope because he's 4 years removed from the last time he played any good football, and when you're at that sort of distance, it's very rare that you all of a sudden come back to form again and start doing anything.
What do you think about all of these guys?
Yeah, so the practice squad is pretty well all of them except for obviously Andre Carter, guys that we had in the preseason. We know what we're getting in them, etc., etc. It's nice to see, some of the UDFAs back. Keith Cooper, especially, I was a big fan of. But Eric Hallett, who can play all the DB positions, Strickland, who can back up all the safety positions and do special teams, Zach Horton, who I know I've wanted to be on the roster just so we can have the spectre of Saint Joshua off us, but with the penalties he had in the preseason, he needs a bit more seasoning. Jackson Meeks, well, there's another X, and considering obviously that we traded Tim away, nice sort of option to have on the sort of practice squad in case we need him if there's a couple of injuries on the receiver room. Sailors, if anything happens to the top three guys, well, there's someone you can plug and play in his system, and he'll do a Craig Reynolds like sort of job of if you block him 4 yards, he'll get you that 4 yards. So it's nice to see. And then Carty, it always shocks as well when we signed him. I did think for a second it was the one who was on the Bengals, but he's more of a defensive tackle rather than defensive end. And I can see the vision. Maybe they're hoping we can get that reclamation project out of him that you sort of had that good season at Army, then obviously was picked up by Minnesota after all the stuff that was happening with him. With will he be able to declare or not? Because obviously being an playing at Army, you need to go do your service. He got the waiver, but was UDFA because of it. Played a bit for the Vikings in the first year, second year sat in their practice squad. Played a bit for the Raiders last year. There's tiny bits there, and maybe it's just a extreme backup that we know he can push the passer. Being an Army player as well, they're usually pretty disciplined, so be good in special teams as well. Maybe offer a bit of run defense. Is an extreme backup at that sort of rush end spot that we don't really have much at right now, because I know we've got Hutch and Al Qadim who can play there. Davenport is probably more of a big end, and everyone else we've got on the roster that plays defensive end, inverted commas, is more of that big end. So it just offers that we just don't have right now. And then the guys we picked up off waivers, 2 special team safeties. So, of course, I'm happy. I'm looking for my next CJ Maud, who, except for, I hope he doesn't have access to a FanDuel account. And then Tyler Lacey, Tyra Sweet, they're almost, I don't want to say Josh Pascal replacements, but they are, because Lacey is that defensive tackle who can slide outside, play the big end role. Tyra Sweet shows a bit of pass rush, but he's mostly a run stuffer in Dallas. And then Tyler Lacey can also play a bit of special teams. So it's just getting those guys in at the bottom of the roster who can do the special teams, but if you need them to come on and play 5-10 snaps in a certain kind of role, specifically on run defense, they'll be able to do you a job.
Moving on to the rest of the news, Liam McNeil's jersey has been retired at his high school, Sanderson High. Antoine Green, former draft pick of the Lions, recently announces his retirement with a spinal cord injury. We knew it was pretty catastrophic at the time, but that's very sad to hear. Per Dave Paquette, Offensive coordinator John Morton was a man in demand, was in Cabo with Sean Payton, who wanted to keep him when Dan called him to offer him the job, right after Ben Johnson called him to offer him their OC job. So it lends some credence to the fact that he was a man in demand at that time. We have, of course, got to talk about the in-division stuff. We're going to get to Green Bay in terms of the schedule predictions, but of course, Micah Parsons has been traded there, and it appears as though his back problem that he had in Dallas wasn't a ruse. He is dealing with a problem which puts his week 1 status in question and may need an epidural in order to play that game, which seems relatively serious. The last bits of news, the NFL, of course, are counting down to the new season with their top 100, and the last lines have been revealed with Jared Goff at 15. When we got to 20, people thought he'd been left off altogether. No. The league was much higher on him than we thought. And Penei Sewell is number 13, which is maybe a swinge too low, but I'll take it. Boys, obviously great news for Aleem, especially with him being injured. That hopefully is going to keep his morale up to get his jersey retired. Otherwise, I mean, Parsons' trade is the big news. A lot of people saying, I don't care where he goes as long as it's not Green Bay. But it is Green Bay. And, now we've got to deal with that week 1.
Yeah, it's not exactly great that he obviously has gone there. But number one, it's fucked them for the future because they are now the first team in NFL history to have 2 combined players that they're paying $100 million to with him and Jordan Love. And they've given up 2 first-round picks. And I know you look back at their recent first-round picks, this year's one in Matthew Golden, withstanding, not passing judgment on him yet. They haven't been exactly too great, but yeah, to sort of give up that capital for him. And also, one of the best nose tackles in the league, a damn good run stuffer, which is what the Dallas Cowboys themselves referred to when they traded for him and Kenny Clark. They've definitely done something to themselves. And as much as, to face some pass rush duo with him and with the guy, Rashawn Gary, they can't stop the run to save their lives, both of them. They've just weakened their interior to the run. Their linebackers, while they're good, are small and light. They're the sort of modern safety convert kind of ones that damn good that can do stuff in coverage, can blitz, but run defense, they're not that good. So basically, they just made themselves really weak to what we're good at. So hopefully, we just pound the rock down their throats. David Montgomery, Jahmyr Gibbs, Craig Reynolds, maybe even Varkey, get a couple of carries, just ram it down their throats, up the middle, up the gut, inside zone, counter, that kind of thing. And then it's the bearing in facts that their front scheme is quite complicated. Will Micah be able to get it all down in a week, especially if he's dealing with the back problem and can't really practice too much? Will that mean he's on a limited snap count for them on obvious passing downs? Will they maybe just say, okay, when it's a 3rd and long, we'll stick you in next to Adrian Cooper and you'll be like a sort of blitzing package together? Because Micah Parsons last season had a perfect 99.9 pass rush grade when played as an off-ball linebacker. Number 2 with a 93.4 was Adrian Cooper. Is that what they're going to do? In which case, we see him come on 3rd downs. And then Goff will see it, put us in the perfect protection package, him and Graham, and we'll deal with it and probably hit them over a top to Amon Roll, to Sam Laporte, or Jahmyr, attacking that linebacker space and get a touchdown. So while it looks good and flashy, and I know certain Green Bay Packers fans that I unfortunately have to follow on Twitter because they're good at random NFL analysis, they're absolutely going around like this is going to win them the Super Bowl. It's definitely improvement to their pass rush. Will it help them week 1? Probably not.
And do you feel the same? I mean, it's definitely going to shake things up, and there's plenty of Lions fans who wanted to make this trade.
I mean, it's the kind of move you make when you're at the period of their regime that they are. They're in year 7. Gutekunst and LaFleur. You're 5 years removed from your last NFC Championship game. You've progressively gotten worse in the conference in terms of your record. You're 1-5 last year. You're only not 0-6 because of a blocked field goal against Chicago. Time is running out there for them, or for LaFleur at least. So, when you look at what do you do when you're in that situation? You go out and you get a flashy player. You can't try and get a game changer who can send you back in the right direction and prolong your tenure there and sort of screw your immediate future, which is what they've done. So, It's not unexpected, I don't think. Their jobs are on the line. They need to catch up in the NFC North again, and they were in need of a leading pass rusher. I think Rashawn Gary is good. He is going to thrive now as 1B, where the pressure is not all on him anymore. It's going to be difficult because he is a great player. And he has a wonderful defensive coordinator to work under who did wonders with that team in 1 year last year, and they're returning every other single starter this year. So you've got a lot of continuity there. You've got a lot of experience. You've got a lot of turnovers, and now you've got someone who is going to be consistently putting pressure on the quarterback, forcing dangerous situations there, causing those takeaway opportunities. So of course it's going to make them better. I mean, I think it's silly to say it's not going to make them better. Obviously, losing Kenny it's a steeper price than some might say because he has been the best nose tackle in the league over the last decade, and he's always been a pain in the arse for us, especially trying to run on them there. But they do obviously feel comfortable enough with what they've had. They've bought Nazir Stackhouse in this year. That'll be their new nose tackle going forward. Cooper, you saw these linebackers develop last year. Key Walker looks better. So if they feel like they can do a job there and if they can do enough against the run against teams, then yeah, you're in a lot of bother. So it's a good move for them. But again, it's a move you would expect them to make. We're not in that territory yet where our ownership is kind of we need to get a move on here because we're going in the wrong direction and we're in year 7. We're probably about 2 years away from something like this. Obviously, it would have been nice to get him here, but just the cap logistics, the money, and everything like that was always going to be physically impossible, really. You can't pay the top 2 edge rushers in the league and have a balanced team. Hell, we're not going to have a balanced team paying our own guys what we've got here right now. I think you've got to let a couple of them go if you want to maintain proper flexibility. But it's a good signing for them, do not get me wrong. And if you get in the wrong situation against these guys now, then they're a hell of a lot more dangerous than they were before. But does it make them better than us right away? No. We've still got the better units on 3/4 of our team, and unfortunately, one unit doesn't change anything. So, yeah, good signing for them, but not too unduly fussed in the grand scheme of things.
I think that the trade is hilarious. I am unbelievably happy. I think Ash is right, but maybe doesn't go far enough. This is a laughable decision by Green Bay. They are not in the right spot to make this trade. It's a move by a desperate organisation trying to hold on to their jobs. This is a sort of move where he has to have a quarterback's level impact to make it work. But we know when players move between teams, they sometimes don't have the output they had on their original team. This has got to be as good as he was in Dallas, if not better. He's injured, for a start. What if that back injury is chronic? That's hilarious. But they have put a ceiling on this team now. It is very, very hard for this Green Bay team to get any better than it is now. Because what assets are you investing? This is the sort of trade value that the Rams gave up to get Matthew Stafford to win a Super Bowl, and they did it. But if Green Bay do not win a Super Bowl, this trade is a disaster. What can they retool with? They're spending so much money that at some point they're going to have to reset, and they're going to have to do it without 2 first-round picks. So for the longevity of this division, this is making sure that Green Bay's rebuild happens faster and happens deeper. Brilliant. Fantastic. Well done, because you know what? We're still better than you, and you've fucked your future. That's hilarious. Like, Gutekunst we already knew was someone who did some things well and some things badly, but he's doubled down on everything that he does badly. Like, this is terrible for them. And I don't understand why no one else doesn't understand quite how bad this is for them. It's shocking. Like, they were already, for me, the worst team in the division, or maybe there or thereabouts for Chicago, and this puts them above Chicago. You're probably not better than the Vikings, depending on how good JJ McCarthy is. Congratulations, you solidified 3rd. Well done. What's it worth? When we're talking about the playoffs actually mattering and getting there, they haven't moved the needle. Well done. Sorry.
Yeah.
I feel very passionately about this. Like, it's why I didn't want us to do it.
And to make it even better for you, I know it's obviously not in this thing, but it's just saying about how to think, with this conversation we've been having about the Bears for the past couple of weeks where they haven't decided to do their left tackle is, turns out Green Bay also haven't. They're deciding between the incumbents and in Jordan Morgan, who the past picks in the first round last year. And oh, wait, they were playing at right guard in spots. He wasn't good.
All right. Let's move on to our season predictions, which means I need to do some rejigging on the screen and fail badly, but hey, never mind. What's new? Bear with. This is good podcasting, this is.
Well, I'll fill the time up. Who's the Tigers' number 2 pitcher? Because it seems we don't have one right now.
We were talking about that for a while. Duh. Right. Do that, and we do... Come on. There we go. All right. We are ready to go. So, season predictions. We are starting, of course, with week 1, which is Green Bay. This Sunday, it's a 4:25 kickoff. It is on 2 different television channels in the UK because, we need extra coverage, which of course means it's a blackout for us on Game Pass, which is a bore and a half. The Lions have the second hardest strength of schedule per ESPN. Last year's combined opponent record had a winning percentage of 57.1%, which is not ideal. However, of course, the win percentages change massively from year to year, as we know. Green Bay, of course, aren't coming off a previous game. We only know what we know right now. So, Ant, we're going to start with you. What do you see from the opener? Of course, we're going to preview that later on in the week, so maybe let's not go into this too hard. What do you have?
I mean, I'm going into this under the assumption that Parsons is going to play. Obviously, we don't know at this point, so it's a bit hard to make the prediction in there. For me, our season is going to start a little slower. I have us losing on Sunday. Going to Green Bay is always tough. You're on a 3-game win streak there right now. Law of averages is eventually you're going to lose there again. But I mean, for me, what we need to gel this year, obviously the offensive line needs to gel. That's your main thing there. I mean, what would be our strong point, having a good interior against what is now a weak defensive tackle group? It's new as far as we're concerned. That is bedding in. And you're bedding in a lot of your new defensive line as well. I mean, Davenport's barely played in a year. Hutch hasn't really played in a year. Your defensive tackles outside of Reader are either new to the system or haven't played in a while either. I think it's just going to take a little bit of time for these guys to get up and running. With it being a very tough divisional matchup, usually where we'd be able to take advantage of this, I don't think we're going to be able to so early in the season. And again, I go back to Green Bay, and you say they're a mid-team, but this team was 5th in yards given up last year, like 6th in points given up per drive this year. It was a decent team, and you've now added a star to them. And, it's going to be tough on that defensive line for them, but now that you've got Parsons in there, now you've got Gary in there, you can move Enikbari round, you can move Van Ness round, you can do a little bit to try and mitigate the losses that you've got on the interior there. Their linebackers are really good. They've got picks in them, so if you don't start well, if your offense is a little jittery to start with, there will be turnovers. So I've just got us having a little bit of rust to start the year here, and as losing by a score, losing by 6 overall, I think. But it's nothing I'm going to be too concerned about because, again, where our strength is where we most need just to let them settle in and gain some experience of it. And I think it's going to be a slightly slower process. So, yeah, I've got them, but I won't be concerned if we do.
Going through the line, Roar of the Lions members in absentia, we have Ryan Farden, who's gone for a win by 8, Stephen Collins for a win by 4, and Thomas Wilkinson with a loss by 3. Ash, what do you have?
I agree that we will probably need some gelling, but what's easier for offensive linemen to do? Pass block or run block? It's run block by a mile. Where have they now really, really weak? The run game, defensive line and off linebackers in the run. I said it earlier. Give Monty, Gibbs, all the running backs a load. Hell, get JMO a couple of end rounds in that as well. Just run the damn ball on them. It's where they're weak. pound the rock against them and we'll beat them by a score. So I have us winning by 4, where they get a field goal, we get a touchdown. We've just got that clinical edge on one of our drives that they don't, and it proves the winning factor in this game.
For me, I look at this team and I think it's a completely unserious team when it pays Micah Parsons a quarterback level money. And they are going into the season with starting corners Keyshawn Nixon and Nate Hobbs. What are you doing? You are going up against one of the best passing offenses in the league, and I take Ash's comment about pass blocking, run blocking. Even if this Lions team is slightly rusty in the passing game, and yes, hopefully we can lean on our run game, we should torch this team in the air. We really should. I mean, Edgar and Cooper I'm a massive fan of, so yeah, he can cover over there, and obviously he can come on the blitz too. He's a very handy player, but you know what? You can always rely on Key Walker to give Quay Walker, whatever, to give a terrible flag away. Will he get ejected again? Is another question. But what we do know, I think, is that the Lions should be thinking they should be winning this game. I have the Lions up by 10 with 2 minutes to go, and the Packers getting a garbage time score, but still losing to us by 3, which makes our average of consensus 4 wins, 2 losses, which means we're going for a win. I put a vote in for the fans in there, which I'm about to close. They have gone for 88% for a win. We move on to number 2. Week 2, which is versus the Chicago Bears and the return of Benjamin Johnson. I am going first this time, and I have a win by 5. I look at this team and I actually really like the investments that they've made. And unlike most Lions fans who want to say that they think Ben Johnson is going to shit the bed because he's left us, I kind of believed everything I said when Ben Johnson was here, which is that I think he's a savvy operator. I think he was an exceptionally good coordinator. I did say I thought Aaron Glenn would be a better head coach than him. I still think he's going to be a good head coach. So I think this game is going to be more competitive than people want it to be. I also think that Colston Loveland is a really, really good player to put into that offense with Caleb Williams, who I think is going to be better. I still think them going into the season with DeAndre Swift maybe being their lead back is not the best idea in the world. But that defense should be better than it was last year. All the people were kind of returning that they needed to return. They've brought in some good free agents in there too. So I like the moves they've made. I think they've significantly raised the floor of their team. And you know what? They've really pushed us close the last couple of years in some spots too. So it's not like they even had to make a big improvement to really think they could get a win here. But I just think we've got a little bit too much. Ash, your turn.
Yeah, I agree. Ben will probably, at least this is week 2, they've had a bit more time in the system. He's got some stuff in. Hopefully, well, not hopefully, but the same with the defense, new system. Dennis Allen doing it. While it's a bit easier system to do, they're still getting used to it. But I just think the continuity we have in terms of, I know technically we've lost both coordinators, but they both know what they're doing, bringing in similar systems. Most of the players still around. It will take them a bit of time to gel, as Anne said, with us week 1. Might be the same there. Like, we've got to remember their interior is completely new. We'll have the chemistry. Will they've changed their left tackle by then? Because obviously they're having their 3/4-way battle for that right now. There's still a lot for them to work in. So I have us winning by a score, so 7 points. I want it to be a blowout. If it turned out that we win by 40 and plus, would not be surprised. Would not be surprised if we only win by a field goal, but with them coming to us, that sort of week 2 atmosphere against Ben, his first time back here, the boos are going to be loud for him. Watching a certain football team play this weekend, I've seen how a crowd atmosphere again can affect teams coming into hostile environments, and I think that will help. Honestly, I think the crowd will be the sort of edge for us here, not special teams, not the offense, not the defense, the crowd.
All right, to reveal the other picks we have in here, we have Tom Wilkinson, who's gone for a win by 7, Stephen Collins for a win by 11, and Ryan Farden a win by 3. Ant, can you make it a clean sweep?
Hell yeah. I've got a win by 15. they're fucking awful team. And we're just a lot better than them. They're coming to our house. I think this team's going to have a lot to prove because everyone's saying Ben is the reason they're good. I think this offense is going to take it personally. I think, we've really struggled against them in recent years to really try and break them down and, Ben's one Achilles heel always seemed to be playing Chicago. It just never looked fluid. It never looked stable. I think with Morton here now, it's going to look better. I think this is a team where we're going to absolutely run the hell out of them. We're just going to show their lack of grit. There's a reason they finished bottom of the North, 4 years in a row now, 3 years in a row. It's a team when you put them under pressure, they buckle. They're coming into our house, and I think we'll just win the time of possession very handsomely. Ben's going to try and get too creative because he's going to want to show us what we're missing. I think there's going to be potential for turnovers there. We're just a much better team, and if we have lost to the Packers, we will have a bee in our bonnet, and they'll be the ones we take them out on.
Worth mentioning for this game as well that they are the inaugural Monday Night Football against the Minnesota Vikings, which means they are coming off a short week to us for week 2, which is not the best way to start for them, I would say, although 2 at home potentially softens that blow in division. All right, we are up to week number 3. We are at Baltimore on Monday Night Football. Their previous game is in the 1 o'clock slate against the Cleveland Browns, so they are coming off favourable timings, just as we are. And we're starting with you this time. What do you have for Baltimore?
I've got a win here. And I think this is where this team needs to put its big boy pants on and needs to go out and be able to win games like this. I look at this Baltimore roster and match it up against our own, and honestly, it's nothing special compared to what we have. And I think after a few weeks, our trenches are going to be up and running. I think the system's going to be in, hopefully coming off a good win against the Bears. You're full of confidence, and we got absolutely embarrassed the last time we went there. It was a non-competition. That was back when we were a bad team. Certainly not at the power that we are now. But if you want to show that you are a Super Bowl contender and that you're legit this year, these are the kind of games that you've got to go and win. It is a tough schedule for us, but it's going to be a statement game. I think you can win. You look at what the pass rush is like there. It's not the best in the world. I know you've put Mike Green in, whether he's playing at that point, I don't know. But, our tackles are where we're strongest. I know they got a very good defensive interior, but again, a few weeks in, I expect our guys to be rocking and rolling, able to deal with it. And then on the other side of the ball, Hutch, if he's going, if Davenport's healthy, if the line's started to get right again, they've got a good offensive line, but there's nothing we can't handle. And in terms of Lamar, I mean, if you're going to make the excuse now we can't deal with running quarterbacks after 5 years of this regime, then that's just piss poor planning. I would hope now that there are plans in place to deal with him. I know Derek is still king, but he's getting on now. This is a team who've had their chance. They've been around for years, and they've completely and utterly messed it up. They've been to one championship game. This is not an elite caliber type team who've just been doing this every year. They've been found to be fraudulent. I think we can go there and win and lay down a big marker for us early, and you've got to. Again, I'm not looking for moral victory. I'm not saying we can't do this anymore. I want to go there and I want to beat them. So I think we can do it. I think we've got the ability. We will be bedded in. We'll be ready. The team will be good. So yeah, I've got us beating the Ravens, and it'll be one of our biggest statement wins yet, showing that we are for real this year now that we're healthy again.
All right, going through the absent members. We have Ryan Farden going for a loss by 14, Stephen Collins going for a loss by 10, and Tom Wilkinson going for a loss by 10. Ash, what's your pick?
Would be useful if I unmuted myself. This is going to be deja vu because, spoiler alert, I also have a loss by 10. I completely agree with what Ant says, but it's just that spectre of we're not going to win every game. And for some reason, Baltimore, you look back at the times they've played us, they've played pretty much NFC team that's not led by Daniel Jones. They always find a way to win. And with it being at their place, with it being one of their special uniform nights, they're wearing their All Blacks, they're just going to be in the mood for it. And as much as I agree that it'll be a lot closer than it was the last time we went there, which was painful to watch, they'll just have that edge. Their secondary, well, okay, the depth's not there, but they're still pretty damn good with Nate Wiggins. I hate it because I like winding up Ravens fans about him. You've got Carl Hamilton, who's now the highest paid safety in the league. Thank you for taking that away from Kirby and making that deal look cheap already. They've just drafted Malachi Starks, who somehow fell to them in the draft. They always seem to do that. I know they just brought in GIO and he's always injured, but he probably won't be a full-time starter. Just be when they're nickel and then Marlon Humphrey, who, yeah, is on the downswing of his career, but still pretty damn good. They'll be able to keep our pass attack in check a bit. And then with their interior, which, again, they don't have a lot of players, but the players they've got there, Justin Bradbury, they just drafted my draft crushing in his Peebles. They've got quite a lot of players there who will be able to do what they're asked to a pretty high level. With it being at their place, I just see them winning and by 2 scores, just because they always seem to against us.
I unfortunately also have a loss. I only have 5, so I'm the only one to have a loss by less than 1 score. By less than 2 scores. I think they've got pretty good depth. I disagree that they don't have depth. A team that can field as corner 3 Chidobe Awuzie and corner 4 TJ Tampa is not doing too bad. Like, I know TJ Tampa has a lot to prove, but he's a 4th round pick last year for a reason, and I still feel good on the upside there. And then Awuzie, yeah, he's not being paid very much, but he has shown he can be a very good player at times in this league. That's not nothing. And I mean, if you want to say that there's a better safety tandem apart from our guys out there, this might be it. I know Starks hasn't played it down yet, but I don't give a damn. That is an incredible safety pairing. The rest of it is just so competitive across the board. Like, there are very few teams that can match the Lions for grit, but this is right up there with the way that they play. And some of the improvements they've made have been minor, but I think they're going to be impactful. And that's going to be something like you're starting DeAndre Hopkins, who hasn't set the league alight for a long time. But if you have a look at what he's managed to do in the twilight of his career, he's quietly still been a very productive, very good player without being flashy. And I think that's going to suit the Ravens down to the ground when he can be the 4th receiver after Zay Flowers, Mark Andrews, and maybe even Rashad Bateman, and then you've got Hopkins in your bag. That's quite nice when you're not playing Tez Walker instead. Like, that's a big upgrade. So, and this was already a team that really took a step in its passing offense over the last 2 years. You know, it was just a rushing quarterback and not really a lot else. And, you know, we're going to design it that way. And Lamar's really come out of his shell the last couple of years to the point where, to Ant's point, it's been a massive disappointment that they haven't got to the conference championship for them, more than the ones that they have. This team should be aiming for the Super Bowl. I really think it's that good. They're going to have to stay healthy. So does everyone. I think we're going to lose, but I think it's going to be close. I think, you know, maybe we're ahead in the final possession and they just make it happen or something like that. I can see it going that way. All right. We're into, fan prediction for that one and the Bears one, which actually closed down. The fans thought we were going to win the Bears game by 100%, which was nice. The guys, we were 5 for 5 in our predictions for the Bears game. For Baltimore, we've only got 1 win, which is Ant, which means consensus-wise we think it's going to be a loss. And the fans also think it's going to be a loss with 67% voting for a loss as well. Time to go to week number 4, which is versus the Cleveland Browns. Now, the Browns, their previous game is going to be a 1 o'clock game against Green Bay in Cleveland. So they're back-to-back home games against the NFC North. And I'm first up to predict this one. And I have, against maybe the worst team in the league, a win by 10 points, which I think is maybe a smidge conservative. Did I say back-to-back home games? I didn't mean that, because we're at home, aren't we? We're at home. Sorry, they're going home and then away. My bad. Anyway, this team, I don't want to pile on them too hard because I don't dislike a lot of the players they've drafted. Mason Graham, Carson Schwessinger, Harold Fannin, Dylan Sampson. I think they're all brilliant. I think they've had a really, really good draft. But that's taken them from being by far and away one of the worst NFL teams I've ever seen to being just the worst team this season and not historically bad. There's enough players on that team where they can do bits, and obviously they've got Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward, and I know that Greg Newsome was on the block. I still really like him as a player, and he's still on this team for now. And Joe Flacco is going to give this team chances to win games because Flacco's a winner, and he's shown that despite him going away for a while, his comeback's been monumental. Like, he's not a top 10 quarterback by any means, but God, he's a competitor. And Njoku's a bloody good tight end, and that offensive line still has bits to it, but as a unit overall, there's too many holes on both sides of the ball. So 10 for me just feels conservative. I kind of just want to be more respectful than I think some will be. Ash, you're next.
Yeah, I agree. They've definitely improved from where they were last year with the draft, with some of the free agent signings they've made. So Tevin Jenkins as a backup offensive line piece is pretty damn good. Getting Zach Zinter, and who I know they drafted last year after a leg injury, him fully healthy, they have to practice, that will help. Getting some of the guys that got in free agency. So Joe Tryon-Shoyinka, I know technically it was a bust with his draft cap where he was picked, but as an rotational edge piece, he can do things for you. Same with Sean Jenkins, there's Monte Kazee. But yeah, it's taken them from being pretty damn bad to, okay, you might be in a couple of games. It won't be enough against us, especially since some of the places where they were especially strong and they hung their hat, running back with Nick Chubb, offensive line with the guys they had, that's slowly falling away. Like, you're looking now, okay, maybe Jenkins might have it or his contract situation sorted by then. But if not, their starter running back's going to be Jerome Ford. Their offensive line, okay, yeah, Joel Bitonio is good, but he's on the downswing of his career. Evan Potchich, replacement level. Wyatt Teller's good, but again, hasn't been as good as he was a couple of years ago. Jack Conklin, downswing his career. Gerard Jones. They don't really have, other than the defensive, some of their defensive line, because not even fully of that. Like Myles Garrett, one of the best edge rushers in the league, going to be great. Mason Graham, hopefully, will be great as a defensive tackle. But their other starters are Malik Collins and Alex Wright. Not exactly inspiring confidence, is it? So they've got some good linebackers. They've got some decent secondary pieces. Actually, I say their starting wide receivers are good, and I like Cedric Tillman, liked him coming out of the draft as an next receiver. Jerry Jeudy, okay, he hasn't really lived up to his billing, what he was supposed to be coming out, but as a sort of Z receiver running on the outside, brute receiver, he's good. And then Jamari Thrash from Louisville, they drafted last year, he's pretty damn good as well, but there's not much behind them. So Ivers win by 14. They're going to be competitive in some games, especially in their division, because they always seem to get up for them, but they're not going to be enough for us here. We don't have to resort to some of the tricks the last time, a couple of times ago, we had to play them where we lay on their QB to stop them spiking the ball at the end of the half to win a game. We should hopefully just come out and beat the brakes off them.
All right, the rest of the guys who are not here as follows. Tom Wilkinson win by 17. Stephen Collins win by 17. Ryan Farden win by 23. And what do you have to finish us off?
They're going to be playing for the number one pick. We should beat them with ease. This does not need explaining. We're going to absolutely destroy them.
Fair enough. You have us winning by 7, and it's straight back to you as we go at the Cincinnati Bengals in Week 5. Their previous game will be Monday Night Football at Denver, so they will be going home on a short week. And what do you have?
See, I've got another win here against AFC North opposition on the road. Their trenches don't have what it takes to keep up with us, especially their offensive line compared to our defensive line at this point. It's should be fit and firing and ready to go. And when you can't run the football, which they're not really going to be able to do on us, you're going to be able to tee in on Joe Burrow and go after him and take those great receivers out of the game. Because they do have great receivers. Not going to deny that, but the trenches are where it's won. Cincinnati are not on our level in terms of how good a team they are. And, it's the NFL on any given Sunday and all, but this is a year again we need to prove that we can go and win these sort of games. You want to win a Super Bowl, you go to Cincinnati and you go and beat the brakes off them there, especially the level of opposition you're coming up against trench-wise. If you want to beat the Eagles, if you want to beat the Bills, if you want to beat teams like that, then you've got to be able to beat teams like this. I just don't think they've got what it takes where it matters. They've got really good skilled players, but the trenches are where games are won and lost, and ours are vastly superior to the Bengals. So, yeah, I've got us winning, I think, I've got us winning by 2 scores. I don't think it's going to be close. I think, we are a damn good team, and we're going to prove it this year. People have this thing that the AFC North is a powerhouse and it's been great. Well, it's on the decline now. The Browns are gone, the Steelers are gone, the Bengals are going the way of the dodo. It's just the Ravens left now. So, yeah, I've got us winning by 2 scores. I don't see the Bengals being a match for us at all.
The guys who aren't here, Ryan Farden has a win by 3, Stephen Collins has a loss by 3, Tom Wilkinson has a loss by 7. Ash, what do you have?
As much as I love their offense, and they've tried to add to that defense and they've shook things up by getting rid of their defensive coordinator, who I did like, but they've got a new guy in. It's not going to be enough. It might potentially turn into a shootout. And I know I'm saying it's a shootout, but our defense is way better than theirs, so it should limit their offense to the extent that we should be able to win this. I'm saying, they've definitely got pieces on our defense, like Trey Hendrickson's good. I do like TJ Slayton as a nose tackle. Really think Green Bay should have kept him, considering things. Miles Murphy, hasn't lived up to his first time a couple of years ago, but he can do some stuff. Trust me, I know. And I really like Geno Stone as a free safety. He hasn't lived up to a couple of years ago when he led the league in interceptions, but he's still good. And Dax Hill as a Brian Branch light. He's good, but it's not enough. It just won't be enough. We're going to win this game. We're going to win by a score. Let's say, we get one stop where they can't. And that's what wins us the game. And I just look forward to seeing Joe Burrow shouting at his head coach and defensive coordinator again, like we saw on quarterback.
I also have us winning by 7. If I have a look at this team, this offensive line is awful. Terrible. Their best offensive lineman starting is Orlando Brown Jr., who was a man jettisoned from the Kansas City Chiefs because he wasn't good enough. Otherwise, they've got Ted Karras? Well done. They're starting Lucas Patrick! How can you be a serious offensive line? You're starting Lucas bloody Patrick. And then they've got Amarius Mims. Let's see what that is, but I don't think you can put any stock in that right now, frankly. And then Dylan Fairchild, who was the less good Georgia guard. He's got some upside. But there is no one on that offensive line I would consider for the Lions. I don't want any of them. No thank you. Yeah. Sorry.
There's one that I would, and he's a backup for them right now. Dalton Risner. He's the only one that I'd take. And he's a backup for them.
So our defensive line, if we're going to win comfortably, has to have a field day, but it should be able to eat. Going up against Chase and Higgins with Burrow throwing the ball to them and Gesicki as well, that's no hard task. And, Chase Brown's a fantastic running back. You should be able to beat that offensive line to a pulp. Sorry. We have to be able to win the game via pass rush. And then their defense, it turned the corner at some point last year, but it was one of the league's worst for a long time. Because it can be picked apart. There's a lot there that's not great. Yes, okay, you got Trey Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart. Let's see what Stewart is in the league. Not a believer he'll turn it on straight away. So, we should just win this game. They're starting Dax Hill in the nickel, who has had to go from nickel to safety to nickel to safety nickel because they can't decide where he can actually play football. It's not great.
So what you're saying is we're a much better team than them?
In short, thank you, yes.
See, that's very interesting because, people think we don't have a shot against the Ravens, and this Bengals team last year lost by a combined 4 points in both games to them and took them to overtime once. And you say they're awful. And we're a really good team.
There's always different dynamics in in-division games, though.
Any given Sunday.
Yeah, but someone will look at what the Bears have done to us in the last 2 years and say, oh yeah, but we only just beat the Bears and we only just lost to the Lions. And the Bears gave the Lions a really good game, so how different can they be? That logic doesn't really hold if you want to make it work.
In fairness to the Bears, they lost about 7 games last year in ridiculously stupid circumstances. It could have been a very vastly different finishing number of wins for them.
True. All right. We have gone for 4 wins out of 6, so that is a consensus win. Cleveland was a consensus win with 6 out of 6. And the fan vote for this one is an 83% win. The Cleveland game was a 100% win. We move on to Monday Night Football Week 6 at the Kansas City Chiefs. Not Monday Night Football, sorry, Sunday Night Football, beg your pardon. Kansas City previously playing Monday Night Football at Jacksonville, so they will be returning home from the East Coast on a short week. We, of course, will not be coming off a short week, so we will be travelling cross-country, but with a little bit more rest. I am first to kick us off here, and I mean, this is very, very bad analysis, and I kind of don't care because I lament it for every other game that we're going to talk about today, but I am going to make the lazy comment. We just have the Chiefs number. This is the team we're going to make our bitch. We're just... If we can go back-to-back at Arrowhead and just smoke them, it's going to be brilliant. Now, I haven't got smoking them. I've got a win by 1. Do I like what they've done? Nah. Josh Simmons, I'm not massive on. He's okay. Jalot, we loved, I think, as a show. Basser, Noel Williams, meh, whatever. It's obviously a damn good team. 3 straight Super Bowls in a row. Super Bowl appearances in a row. The offensive line is not great again. Like, they got so badly beaten 4 years ago that they invested in it massively. But, okay, you got Creed Humphrey and Trey Smith. But you got Juwan Taylor still. How many times can you be caught false starting in a game? I don't know, but we'll be all looking at this one. And then Sua Mataia is, I'm going to say, playing for his job at this point because he was just not as good last year. And then Josh Simmons. That's going to be a hard task to come in day 1 into this team and have to just be the guy, because if he is, then the unit looks a heck of a lot better. But if he doesn't, this Chiefs team can get got at. And who have they got? Who is he throwing to? Hollywood Brown, Xavier Worthy, Juju Smith-Schuster? Like, it's got upside, but nah. I mean, it's shit analysis, but it comes down to, can Patrick Mahomes beat you? As it always does with this team. I'd like to think that we're better than that. So I'm going for a win by 1. Ash, what have you got?
I have us winning, surprisingly. They've definitely got good players everywhere. Like, I predict probably by the time we're playing them, Jalot will be the start instead of Mike Diner. Some of the other guys they've drafted will probably be in there. But when, as you say, their receiver room's got a lot of upside, but when the one everyone is talking about in fantasy, and you know, the Chiefs are supposed to be this great great offensive team, so of course they're going to be fancy. When the one everyone is talking about is currently injured in Jalen Royals, and even he wasn't a perfect prospect coming out, that's why they took him in the 4th. I don't know. Mahomes is good. He's one of the best QBs of all time. But yeah, as much as I was high on Josh Simmons, I remember when we were doing the draft show, and I even mentioned to our Chiefs guest, like, if it's Josh Simmons, would you be happy? And he was like, no, but I don't know, fair. It's expecting a lot from, a guy coming off an injury who didn't play that much at Ohio State, came from San Diego State, I believe, remember rightly. The steps up he's taken, he did it at Ohio State before he got injured. Is this another step too far, especially off the injury? With him blocking potentially for someone who has to be on the run, because let's be honest, Travis Kelce at this point is probably more focused on planning his life after football, with obviously all the stuff's going on with him. It's going to be a scramble offense. It's going to have to rely on that Mahomes magic, which is I know what you've just said. And then on the defense, while they won't be at that bye yet, so they'll still be in the fuck around and find out stage. Their defense won't be as good as it always is when you come into January. Their defense has got it on. This is a time when they're fucking around and finding out. And what a perfect chance for Spags to do that against a really good offense. So I have us winning. And I know that it might seem shocking compared to where we were a couple of years ago, but an hour victory of 3, it might come down to the kickers. And let's say we've got the one that makes love to the field rather than demanding that women get off it.
Tom Wilkinson has a win by 4. Stephen Collins has a loss by 1. And Ryan Farden has a win by 4. And to finish us off at Kansas City, what do you got?
I've got us winning. I mean, just for me, the Chiefs are not the dynasty that they used to be. They've won their Super Bowls. There's obvious deficiencies in that. Now, they can win games better than anyone. Like mentally, they are what every team aspires to be. This is a team that has, kept the likes of the Bills and the Ravens and their super teams in check, even when they've not had a good team themselves. So you never, ever write them off. But you've kind of just looked at the mood around recently, seen in the most recent Super Bowl. They're not that team anymore, and I think fatigue can set in, and it does look like the fatigue of winning has set in for them. They are on the downward trend now, and again, we're on the upward trend. We should be aiming for the Super Bowl this year, and we're the ones who've got a point to prove. We're the ones who should have that hunger and desire to go and win this whole damn thing compared to them. And again, you look at what they're putting out in front of you, and you're like, there's, the left-hand side of that offensive line is there to be eaten. That you've got to attack that, really put a bullseye on it, stop them running the ball. Because you see, when you stop them running the ball, Mahomes can do as much as he wants, but you can hit him again and again and again, and you can stop this offense in its tracks. A lot of them are growing older. You've still got Jawan Taylor and his false starting right tackle ass in there as well. Like there's holes to be had, and then defensively, they've got a great front seven. It's tough, but we've got one of the best offenses in the league. We've got playmakers all over. I expect us to go out and be able to do what we need to against them. We've shown that we can go there and win against a better version of them. And I think, this is the year where you've got to go and you've got to beat them. Because there's going to be much tougher tests out there this year, and they represent the standard you want to be above. So I've got us winning, only by 2. I think it's going to be very close because again, they are a very savvy team. That front seven is very dangerous. It can cause turnovers. I think it'll be very hard, nitty-gritty effects. You're coming off 2 of your last 3 games on the road to the Ravens and Bengals. You are going to be taking your lumps by then, but I still expect us to win out. So yeah, I've got us beating the Chiefs.
All right, that is 5 wins out of 6 for us, and 80% of the fans think we're going to win this one as well. So that makes it 5 wins out of 6 on the fan vote, and we are in lockstep with them for week 6 as we go into week 7. For last game before the bye, and versus Tampa Bay at home, going back home. Their previous game was a 1 o'clock game versus San Francisco, so they'll be travelling to us having been at home against a San Francisco team that couldn't get much worse last year. What have you got for the last game before the bye?
I've got us losing just before the bye, only by 3, but again, you are coming off 3 bruising road trips in the last 4 weeks, so it's going to take a lot out of the team by this point. And the Bucks are what our real nemesis is. They play as tough as we do. We traditionally struggle against the teams who play the same way we do. You can always count on their trench warfare to be, however hard you punch them, they're going to punch you back with the same amount of strength behind it. And trying to break them down again after your grueling month away from home is going to be tough. Tactically, they always seem to have our number. They've got a way of nullifying our defense and nullifying the offense and making it tough to score. Obviously, again, it's always usually got a good front seven. And then receiver wise, you've got the best receiver in the league for me in Mike Evans in terms of how dominant he's been and consistently dominant he's been over the years. Baker is exactly like Jared. Like you can hit him 100 times and he'll still keep getting back up and coming at you. I think this is just going to be a cumulative effort of we're going to have expended a lot of energy in the month running up to this, and they are a team that we traditionally struggle against. They are a bogey team. I hate playing them because I know they play like we do, and I think just going into the bye, we might just let this one slip. But I think 5-2 at the bye, given some of these away trips we've got, I would be absolutely delighted with.
All right. The 3 in absentia. Ryan Farden has a win by 4. Stephen Collins has a win by 17. And Tom Wilkinson has a win by 10. Ash.
I also have us losing by 3 because I agree. We're coming off some really tough road games. And yeah, Tampa always seems to put up fights against us. We beat them in the divisional round 2 years ago. They come to our house week 2 last year and beat us even when Aiden's on a historic run in the first half. Like, I remember this was the day that I was coming back from flag finals and being so confused as like, Aiden's like, the defense is playing great. Like, what's going wrong? Oh, it's because we've just abandoned the run. Great. While I don't expect that to happen here, because John Morton hopefully will be a bit more pragmatic with sticking with what works rather than trying to be the smartest man in the room. Tampa are just that good and kind of underrated maybe in terms of this. They've obviously just signed Teddy, and Teddy's been in our system and he knows the players. Like, I'm not saying he's going to spill all the secrets of the scheme because things would have changed, but he will know the majority of the fundamentals of what we do. So that's like a nice little added sort of planning section for Todd Bowles and Larry Foote, who obviously we interviewed to be our linebackers coach. They'll have the insight. And yet that front, this is the week that I can really see the interior of our offensive line kind of falling apart a bit in third commas. Like, Graham is a good center, but Vita Vea, that's a tough matchup for him. Then you've got Kalijah Cansey, and then I'm predicting by then that Elijah Roberts will be starting over Logan Hall at their sort of left defensive end spot. That's a damn good interior trio to come up against. And then obviously they'll have Hassan Reddick, who I don't like as a player because his pressure to sack ratio is really like he's really good at converting those, but he's good. Yaya Diaby's good. Chris Braswell was someone we wanted a couple of years ago. Is that Sam Ross? He's like, they've got pieces, and it'll just be one step too far. So it's lost by 3, just a field goal, just one of them where they're a bit more clinical on one of the drives when we're not, as I mentioned earlier, like the Packers game. And it's not a shame. But at least we can go into the bye and fix whatever mistakes and heal up after, a tough boxing match against the Bucks.
All right, I am last to go here, and I have a win by 4. They are a gritty team. And I do think Hassan Reddick is going to be a good introduction to that team. But it's a terrible, terrible secondary. Like, really bad. So the only linebacker for me that is good there is Levante David. And I like Savossier Dennis, but I don't think he's a great player right now. And David is 35, 36, 35. Like, I'm not saying he's getting slower by any means, but he has got to play well for this team to do something on defense. If you have a look at the back 5, it's Anton Winfield Jr., who, if he can get back to his 2023 form, is one of the best safeties in the league. Fine. And then they're starting Jacob Parrish, 3rd round pick this year, who I like, but that's asking a lot of him. And then they're playing Zion McCollum, who is at best iffy. Not Melifonwu, like not so great.
Yeah.
Jamel Dean, who kind of was good at some point, but isn't anymore. Blows hot and cold at his best. And then Tyke Smith, who is the second best player on that secondary. Like, and he's fine, but he's not great. And then behind him, who's the first corner off the bench? It's Kindle Vildor. Kindle Vildor's the first corner off the bench. Yes, they'll bring exotic blitz packages. Yes, they might really stop our run game very, very well. If we cannot pass on this team, we don't belong in the Super Bowl. If we can't beat this team playing the way we do, we don't deserve to win everything. We have to win this game. And how it will feel going into the bye, winning or losing this game, really will, I think, for me, define our season. So I'm predicting a win, very nervously, because I think that this means a lot more than other people do. That overall means that we have gone for a consensus win with 4 out of 6. And the fan vote has us winning with 86% of people calling it a win. Or 88, sorry, it's gone up to just in the last minute there. before I've stopped the poll. Right, because it's the bye, I think it's a good time to kind of look back at what we've predicted so far. So the fans have us going 6-1. Our consensus has us going 6-1. I have 6 wins. Ash, you have 5. Tom has 4. Steve has 4. Ryan Farden has 6. And you have 5. And to start with you, since you kicked it all off, how are you feeling sitting at 5-2, having just lost to Tampa Bay, going into the second half of the season? You've played Green Bay and Chicago once. They've still got 4 NFC North teams to go, including back-to-back games to finish the season. Are you happy at 5-2?
To be honest, I'm delighted at 5-2, given that start and the rough run of away fixtures you've got. Look, just put it on the level here. I've already said this. I don't give a fuck about the regular season. I couldn't care less if we won 8 games and snuck in the final wildcard spot and played some of the worst football on the planet. I don't care. It's about how you do in the playoffs. Just get there by. I don't give a damn about the 1 seed. I don't give a damn about winning 15 games. I just do not care in the slightest. I need us to play good when it matters. But I think this team isn't going to think that way. They're going to want to go out there and stomp these guys, and this is an important opportunity to start the season to lay your marker down. Now, I know the Chiefs have shown that you can. The Chiefs have shown the Kelly Holmes method from back in the day. You can start slow, you can look like you're not in full control, but really you're just sitting there waiting for the chessboard to play out. Doesn't matter which route you've got to take, whether you've got to go through Buffalo and Baltimore or whether you get all the games at home. By hook or crook, by five, they find a way to get there. But I think for us, like, they can afford that. They've won a Super Bowl. They've been there, done that. They've proven it. We need to go out and show some of these teams that we mean business, and it's 5 wins here, especially beating the Ravens and the Bengals, because people crow on about that and go, oh, well, you can't win those. It's the AFC North. Ridiculous. There's no game we can't win. There's no reason we can't beat the Ravens whatsoever. We should be. You've just said there, if you want to go to the Super Bowl, you've got to beat teams like Tampa. Well, you're going to show you can beat the big boys in their own patch as well. And we've got a couple of shots here to do that. So, if I'm there at 5 wins, I am absolutely ecstatic. To be fair, I'll take 4-3 at that point. Hell, even if it's 3-4, I wouldn't be at panic stations at this point, because this is the harder part of the year. It gets easier as time goes on. So, hell yeah, I'm delighted at 5, because I'd take 3 at this point.
Ash, you're also at 5, but with a loss in week 7. How are you feeling?
Honestly, even though we entered in the bye with a loss in my reality, I'm not upset. Like, it's a close loss, in inverted commas, against a pretty damn good team. Like, bearing the lead for later, I have them pretty high up in my NFC projections. And the only other loss I'll have is against Baltimore, who, they've all these records. The only last team to beat them for the NFC is Daniel Jones-led Giants and all that. It's not to be sniffed at to lose there. Like, yes, we could definitely win there. Losing by 10 will be rough. That's more than a score. But looking at the season as a whole, it isn't too bad, especially as you say, as we said earlier, bringing a new offensive line, especially on the interior, that combination, going up against the Baltimore, who have one of the best split schemes in the league. I know obviously everyone raves about Todd Bowles' Tampa Bay Buccaneers one, and the one that Minnesota have with Brian Flores. The Baltimore tree of blitzing is up there for me, and that's why it's propagated around the league. That's why Seattle has it now. That's why Miami run it. That's why Tennessee run it. It's not a shame to lose to them. So coming into the bye 5-2, coming off a close game that you can say, we could have won that if X, Y, and Z went better. And then the chance then to come out the bye week 9 against a divisional rival who are coming to our home. It's one that we have particular beef with, and Goff always seems to do well against. There's light at the end of the tunnel, and it's not just a freight train heading our way this time. We've still won by big in some of these games, and we've gone toe to toe with someone who is going to be up there in the NFC. Shouldn't be ashamed by that.
I'm sitting here pretty with the joint top record, along with Ryan, of 6 wins by the bye. Obviously delighted, well on the way to hopefully winning the division at this point, locking up a playoff spot early. I definitely agree with Ant that, it's what happens in the playoffs that matter. I do think that in terms of confidence, and I don't think this team will lack for confidence, even if we went in with 8 or 9 wins and managed to sneak into the playoffs. I don't think they'd lack for it. I do think that confidence matters, especially to Jared Goff. I do think the more they win, the more they are likely to win. You know, when we were talking about the Patricia regime, it was winning's a habit. We need to get some wins on the board. I think it's easier to win when you're winning. It can make you complacent, but the good teams don't let you do that. Sometimes you need to get hit in the mouth every now and again. Fine. But I do think that if you win 9 games, it's just more likely that you're a much worse team than you thought, rather than you're just playing badly, but you're still better than that. I'd be really worried if we won 9 games. Because I think it would be symptomatic of a big problem, either with our play calling or the culture starting to go awry or something like that. I want to win as many games as I can. I mean, just because it's a nice feeling too, selfishly as a fan. Obviously, I'll take anything if we win the Super Bowl. Like I said last year, it's easier to win in the playoffs if you do have an easier run, and if you're playing at home all the time. Maybe we're a better side away, and maybe that's a stupid point, and we should hope for the 7th seed, just so we have to be away the entire thing. But, I don't know. I'm never going to hate on winning as many games as possible. And I believe that we should be setting our sights at an unbeaten season, frankly, because we are that good. Why not?
Doesn't mean shit if you get bounced early.
No, it doesn't. But I think if we went undefeated, I don't think we would get bounced early. You know, it's one of those things where if you are that good, you'll just keep winning. Anyway, as Ash mentioned, we're going to come into the second half of the season against a divisional rival. It's the first game against the Minnesota Vikings at home against the Minnesota Vikings. And I am first to kick us off here. So, have a look at Minnesota's team. And it really just comes down to how good JJ McCarthy is. Because this team is definitely better than last year, if you discount the quarterback. Their investments in the draft have been modest because they just don't have that many picks. Donovan Jackson I like as a pick. I think that he fits into that team really well. Ryan Kelly and Will Fries, I have massive questions on their injury history and their level of play. Will Fries has only been good for like 1 year, and Ryan Kelly has missed 8 games in the last 2 years or something like that. So, you know, there are some question marks there too. But it's just a fundamentally really strong team, you know, and they've traded now for Thielen, who frankly had a comeback year last year. Like, he was the only, well, no, that's not true. He was one of 2 very good wide receivers for Bryce Young and was the reliable target for him, and he looked fantastic being that guy. So to be the guy that replaces the suspended one that we won't mention, that's going to be a great carryover. And Jalen Naylor's a fantastic player, so you've got a good offensive line with a couple of questions. Interior, yes, Donovan Jackson as well. You've got to say he's still a rookie, and let's see how that goes. But Hawk's a fantastic receiving tight end at the very worst. Aaron Jones is an excellent running back. Jefferson's the best wide receiver in the league. And then on defense, brought in Hargrave, brought in Jonathan Allen, and the rest is pretty much chalk. Now, I do think their DBs leave something to be desired when you're starting Isaiah Rodgers and Jeff Okudah and Josh Metellus and Harrison Smith and Byron Murphy. That's not ideal for this team. Much like Tampa, they're going to have to blitz a lot to cover that, but they do it very, very well. So this, I think, could be a really close game. I'm going to have the Lions winning by 8. I don't feel great about it, but I do feel like at home we need to win this game. Fundamentally, I think Hargrave is actually the one that swings it for me, because I like that as a piece for their team generally. But I think his lack of being able to be good against the run, specifically against us, is really going to play into our hands. So I would feel much worse if they didn't trade away the other Harrison, whose name escapes me.
Harrison Phillips.
Thank you, sir. I would less likely to go against Harrison Phillips in this game compared to Javon Hargrave. So that kind of swings it for me just a little bit, because I think we should be able to ground and pound a little bit more. Ash, you're up.
Yeah, I just like to open by saying that I think Amon Ra definitely agrees with you that he'd rather not go up against Harrison Phillips again if you can help it, considering the Thai massage that he gave him a couple of years ago. I definitely hope he definitely does not miss that. But I agree. Like the Vikings, well, they 100% are propping up our strength of schedule. I don't know. They are a good team. Like we know how much of a fan I am of the Flores scheme and of some of the players they've got on that team, Andrew Van Ginkel, Blake Cashman, and Josh Patelis and such. But I can see them regressing a bit because they're starting outside corners and not it. Like Byron Murphy is a really good slot corner. That has found his role there after being an outside corner for so long for Arizona, it's just not working. Josh Metellus is a great chess piece. I love him. Harrison Smith getting on a bit, but still a good safety, can still do things. But that corner, those outside corners aren't it. See, the dogs agree. And on their offense, it will live and die by JJ McCarthy, which is why they've kind of strengthened their running back room with trading for, again, one of my favorite running back twos in the league in Jordan Mason. I absolutely love him. And so does Jimmy Gibbs, considering their connection. Can they carry the load? I know, exactly. Can they carry the load, make it easy for McCarthy, especially against our team that's geared against the run as much as we hate it? This is part of the reason, because you're coming against Aaron Joneses and Josh Jacobses and whoever's in the Bears can actually carry the ball. But we are fundamentally a running team and built to defend against the run. And so while Donovan Jackson hopefully by then's bedded in, Ryan Kelly might be still alive, or Fries won't be okay, they won't be able to run the ball as well against us as we can on them. And Hawk's good. He'll probably get some catches against Anzalone and that. Justin Jefferson's great, but Meek shut him down last time. Freeland, well, he's good, but going up against Terrian probably, unless you play him in a slot, he's going against Meek, etc., etc. We should be able to hold him in check, especially if McCarthy is having a few rookie shakes. We can maybe bait him a couple of things. Kirby can add another NFC North QB to his list. So I have us winning the game and winning quite comfortably in our own place. That's the thing that tides it over again. The crowd factor coming off the bye as well. This team, fans will be hungry to see a win, and they'll fuel the team to win with the crowd.
All right. The rest of the guys have Tom has a win by 14, Steve has a win by 13, Ryan Farden has a win by 7, and you're finishing us off with this one. What do you have?
I've got a win by 10. We know the Vikings have no spine. They've not had a spine for a very long time. We've had their number for a very long time. It is currently 1,042 days since they beat us in a game of football. We are into four figures now. They don't know how to deal with Dan Campbell and his aggressive brand of football. Amon-Ra's cooked every single DB that's played under the sun for them. This is probably one of the worst secondaries they've had in some time. And he's done much better against much better level of opponent we've had. We're just going to cook them through the air again. And, JJ is going to be JJ, but he's in his rookie year. He's coming a year off injury as well. It's going to take time for him to adapt. They'll have the drunk driver back by then, but it's still you can have all the targets in the world to throw out you want, but when you're under pressure, when you've got no run game, when it's all on you, it's very tough. Makes your drives quicker, means your defense is out there quicker. We always do it. We gas their defense because they score on us quick, and then we just methodically pick them apart. They're a team without a spine, and they've not got one this year. If anything, they lost the one guy on that interior in Harrison Phillips who did have something about him. We'll roll over them again. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy.
The fans have this at 100% win. We had a consensus 6 out of 6, so chalk it up to another victory. And we roll around to week 10, and we start off with Ant this time at the Washington Commanders. This starts off a stretch of 4 out of the next 5 being against the NFC East, which is going to be a really interesting division. We're starting off at the Washington Commanders, and their last game would have been Sunday Night Football versus Seattle. I realise I have neglected to say what the previous game for Minnesota would be as well. They would be coming off extra rest, having played Thursday Night Football in Week 8, so they're going to have a little bit of extra rest. at LA Chargers. But yeah, for this game coming
But
up,
we're off a bye, so we get more rest.
indeed. Yeah, at Washington, they'll be on Sunday Night Football versus Seattle, so they'll be travelling home. And what do you think?
There's one consistent thing with this team. When somebody knocks this team down, the next time they play them, they get a shot back 3 times as hard as what was landed on them. I've got us beating the Commanders by 14 in their own ground. Jaden Daniels is going to go through a sophomore slump. There's no two ways about it. The vast majority of quarterbacks who break out in their freshman years have a sophomore slump. This is a team that it is older. It's not like this is some young nucleus core that's going to come together and is going to learn that way. There's a lot of older vets on this team, and they're going to understand. The league knows about them now. Exactly like with us last year. Last year you were the unknown entity. People really didn't know how to play you. They didn't realize how much, mental fortitude you had. You were using that whole us against the world thing. It's not the case anymore. And we're going to remember that game. That will be the most painful loss that this team has had, even outside the NFC Championship game. When you get there, fine, but at least you got there. We were expected to go the whole way last year, and to get thumped the way we did is going to hurt. And we're moving into the part of the season now where more of our influential players are going to be coming back. We're going to be getting healthier. We're going to be getting stronger. And every single one of them is going to remember what they did to us. So I think we're going to go there. I think they'll put up a fight, but ultimately I think we're going to absolutely stomp them in retaliation for last year. So yeah, I've got us winning by 2 scores, going 7-2.
All right, the rest of the guys. Ryan Farden has a loss by 7. Stephen Collins has a win by 3. And Tom Wilkinson has a win by 6. Ash, what do you have?
I have us revenging the pain of last year. Like Graham Glasgow especially will want to come out and have a beast game here, which I can't wait to see, especially since he'll be going up against someone that I really wanted in this free agency class with Javon Kinlaw. Yes, this team had our number last year. They shocked us. They punched us in the mouth. But yeah, Daniels will probably have a sophomore slump. This team, they've done well in surrounding him with vets. So Terry McLaurin signing his contract is good for them. Trading for Debo, who'll give them that versatile offensive weapon, it's good. They've arguably got better at running back, admittedly by subtraction, by trading away Brian Robinson to San Francisco and then trusting Austin Eckler, who has a bit of a fumble problem, but they've thought that their rookie they brought in, Krosky Merritt, had him in camp and they've thought, hang on, we've got something here. And they've done the right thing by him by sort of giving him the leash to be the hot hand and investing the offensive line to bring in Josh Connolly, who I particularly wasn't high on, but in their scheme is a great fit. Trading for Larry Tunsil to protect the blind side, that's a good move. Getting Trey Amos to be their cornerback 1, that's a good move, but there's still weaknesses on the team. And I'll be the one to say it, so you guys don't have to. The thing that's really their weakness on defense, other than the cunts that is Frankie Louvu, is the fact that they're starting Will Harris at strong safety.
Wow.
I've said it for you. As the resident Will Harris fan, I'll take that jump and say that's something we can target. Like, to be fair, you look at their safety room, it's not great. Like, Will Harris, obviously, by the by, but Quan Martin, I was higher on him in the draft class, obviously, considering where he's from. But I think they're misusing a bit. I think he would actually be better as that sort of versatile, strong safety nickel weapon, maybe. But then you look behind them, there's no one really there. So offensively, they can definitely go toe-to-toe for us, but there's weaknesses on that defense that we can just exploit enough just to get a narrow victory.
I love that. I'm a Will Harris fan. He's the worst player on their team. Like that is just such a level of confidence in the guy.
Their worst player on their team is Frankie fucking Louvu, and I hate that fucker with a passion burning almost as great as the passion I have burning in anger against Emi Martinez right now. And you guys know how big that is.
I think we need to have an intervention.
Yeah.
This is getting serious.
This is trouble. Right, moving on to my own pick. I'm going for a win by 12. This team was meant to be bad last year, and it really outperformed who they were. They haven't changed. And I think they are who we thought they were last year. Okay, Jaden Daniels is really good, and I don't think he'll have a sophomore slump. I do like them bringing in Tunsil, but that offensive line isn't good. Brandon Coleman, Tyler Bidiadish, and Andrew Wiley in the interior of the offensive line. It's not great. And I really liked Josh Connolly. I think he's going to be a really good player in the future, but he always had a little way to go. Year one's not going to be for him. Wide receivers, okay. Terry's great. Debo took a massive step back. That's not a good trade. Sorry. And then Luke McCaffrey? Jalen Lane? And then, okay, fine. Zach Ertz, you're banking on getting 500-600 yards this year and being a red zone threat. Good luck with that. And then on defense, okay, fine. Up front, they're fun with Von Miller and Kinlaw and Payne and Armstrong. But that DB room, as has been highlighted, is embarrassing. I do like Sam Ristrell, though. But please play him at nickel. And just let him thrive there. But yeah, Harris starting is worrying. Quan Martin hasn't been good. Trey Amos is going to take some time. And Lattimore, is he even going to be playing by this point? Comfortable victory. The fans, they have gone for a 90% win there. And we overall have gone for 5 out of 6 wins. So chalk up another one for the blue and silver wave. Right, next up is the Philadelphia Eagles at Philadelphia. Their previous game is Monday Night Football at Green Bay. We are playing them on Sunday Night Football. And I am up first. And I have a loss by 7. Now, travelling to Philly is always going to be tough. This is a sort of game that we really, really need to win to establish our credentials. Again, I do feel like this game, like I do against Tampa Bay, where I really feel like this is going to mean something big if you win it. But I look at that team as the reigning Super Bowl champs. I look at Hurts and Barkley. Yeah, we struggle against rushing quarterbacks, but man, having Barkley next to that just makes that so much worse. Now, Dickinson going down is going to hurt them big time. But that's why he brought in Kenyon Green. Don't think he's a great player, but he's going to be a damn good backup in this league. That's not the worst player to be bringing in instead. I mean, Dotson even is showing signs of life as the third guy there. They've brought in John Mechie via trades, who I really like as a depth player. This defense is fantastic. I really like the fact that Moro Ajomo is going to be getting more reps because I thought he's been a fantastic player coming out of the 7th round in 2023. They've lost significant players, but I just don't care. I do worry about them starting Keely Ringo because I just don't think that works. But to be honest, that's why you brought in Adoree Jackson. He'll be starting by then, and that's not a bad thing for them. And then eventually they're going to have Reed Blankenship playing next to Andrew McCouber, who probably would have taken over by then. Sidney Brown is the one penciled in at the moment. But this might be the best roster in the NFL, especially if Jordan Davis and Jalen Carter continue ascending. I mean, Jordan Davis has got to start ascending, but Jalen Carter's fantastic, and he's going to continue to grow. So this is just going to be one of those where when you're away from home, you kind of just shrug your shoulders and say, I hope that doesn't bode badly for the rest of the season for me. Ash, you're up.
I also have a loss by 7, as much as it pains me, because, yeah, this is just, I think, top to bottom, the best roster in the league. Like, Jalen Hurts is he's not a great QB. I did enjoy seeing some of the Eagles fans moaning that Jared Goff was above Hurts in the top 100 and that Penny was above Lane Johnson in the top 100. That was quite fun. But they've got a damn good receiver trio with some not much left behind them. I know Darius Cooper is a great story in the preseason, but when you've only got him and John Mechie, who, you know, hasn't been able to stay healthy in the league. Some of it's not his fault, obviously, but isn't exactly the most reliable guy. So you've got AJ Brown, great. Devontae Smith, great. Jahan Dotson, you've managed to reclaim something from the Commanders cut off, fair enough. Offensive line's really good. Yeah, Dickerson will probably have to get replaced by Kenyon Green, but yeah, that's still a damn good offensive line. Saquon is still Saquon unless the Madden curse hits him. But even then, AJ Dillon in a bad power back, and Will Shipley, well, he's not a bad running back either. And then you look at that defense where, yeah, they're going through a bit of transition. Obviously, lost a couple of pieces in the offseason, as everyone did. But drafting my favorite linebacker in the draft and slotting him right there next to Zach Bourne ain't gonna hurt, is it? Jihad Campbell's gonna be great in that system. Zach Bourne, well, he probably won't live up to the contract he's just signed, but he'll be that happy mediocre between what he was playing on last year and this one. Nolan Smith and Jalix Hunt, well, being light edges, still damn really good. And yeah, that secondary, Keely Ringo won't be starting by then. They'll have given up on that. And yeah, Sidney Brown probably be to the bench, but he's not a bad safety free to have either. Like, they've got pieces. And so, yeah, with us having to go to their place, all I can hope is maybe, some of these players, instead of being on the field, be inside the jail cell at Lincoln Financial Field, because that actually might make it a bit easier for us.
All right, the three guys not here. We have Tom losing by 3, Steve losing by 14, Ryan Farden losing by 13, and to finish us off.
I've got us losing by 3. For me, this is our Chiefs Bills game. You've got to walk before you can run. They beat us in the regular season. It gets to the playoffs and we get our vengeance on them. I think it's tough going to Philly and playing again. They play like us. They love to run the football. They love to play this rough, tough, physical brand. You're in their house. It is very tough, and you are going to lose games as the season goes on. And the one thing they have over us is they've been to a Super Bowl. And they've won a Super Bowl, so that's the mental edge that they've got on you. That's what you've got to overcome. So I think when it comes to the regular season, they'll put one over on us just because you've got that added experience. But then when I think you meet them the second time round, maybe you get them at home. Maybe you're able to get them away from their turf. You're able to learn from your mistakes and put them away. I mean, what can you say about that team? It's so well put together. Do you know how many of those starting 12 in their positions there are not on rookie deals right now? 1. 11 of those guys who are starting out of the 12 positions are rookies. And they've put this entire thing together. They've got them from everywhere. They've got Reed as an undrafted free agent. They've got Jalix Hunt out of the FCS. They've taken guys who did nothing in college like Ajormo and things like that, and they've just put together. Like, how the hell do you have a defense that's basically entirely made up of rookies and then be so good? And the bad thing for us is these guys have been in the system learning. Like, a lot of these, they're not new rookies, they're third year rookies. A couple of them are now fourth year or second year as a bare minimum, and they've played as starters in their first year. It's young. It's really young. It knows how to win. It's bloody difficult to beat, even with our level of offense, which I think is going to be the key. I think there's going to be a lot of youthful enthusiasm, a lot of big plays made, and it's up to our older, more savvy offense to figure it out, which is what I think they'll do in the playoffs. But they'll get us just, but we'll return it in kind in the playoffs, and we'll finally take them down.
All right, next up is the third NFC East game in a row. We are versus the New York Giants in Week 12. The Giants would have previously played at home against the Green Bay Packers at 1 p.m. So we are coming off a slightly shorter amount of rest, having played Sunday Night Football the week before. This is going to be a really interesting game, I think. Anne, what do you have?
The Giants. I got us winning by 12. I think this is the first game of the season where we could potentially be playing a team without a coach. Daboll's days are numbered. I don't think they're not a very good. You've got the defensive line. Like, this lives or dies by what their defensive line does. The defensive line is going to have to carry 90% of that team this year. It is going to have to get turnovers. It's going to have to get third down stops. It's going to have to get sacks. It is going to have to do some serious carrying of this team. And the rest of the defense just quite hasn't been able to keep up with it. And Daboll's been there long enough now where he should have been able to figure this out, and he hasn't. And you've got the complete uncertainty over the quarterback situation. I know Wilson will be the starter, but you've got Dart right behind him. You know, he's going to be wanting to go right away. You've still not come up with a long-term solution at quarterback, and Dayble's in what, year 4 now, year 5 now, and you're still in quarterback purgatory. It's just he doesn't have the base to get this team ready to go. And while they've got some impressive skill players, while they've got some good pieces, and while they say they do have an elite defensive line, I think at this point they're going to be staring down the barrel, probably another losing record. I think they'll get fed up with him. So for us, yeah, it's a good defensive line, but there are ways of mitigating a good defensive line. And we've got a fuck ton of playmakers to be able to do that. So I'm not expecting any issues with the Giants whatsoever. Win by 12 against a team that's waiting to try and get to Carbo at the end of the year.
All right, the three guys not here have Ryan Farden with a win by 13, Stephen Collins with a win by 18, and Tom Wilkinson with a win by 20. Ash, what do you have?
I have us winning by 14, 2 scores, because, yeah, that defensive line is fearsome. We all know how much Dexter Lawrence is arguably now the best nose tackle in the league, and I do really, really like him. The other 2 defensive tackles, while not being the best, are good enough that they can do their jobs. Obviously, they've got Darius Alexander, they drafted in the third, so maybe he's taking one of those spots by then. And then obviously such a great edge trio, not a long duo, but trio, and they'll be able to use Abdul Carter in the ways that we're predicting that the Packers will use Micah Parsons as a flex edge piece. So sometimes to be on the edge, sometimes to be a off-ball linebacker and being playing that way, kind of how they used to go with the Azeez Ojulari that they had this last year. And they've added that second as well, like Javon Holland. I know he had a rough end to his Dolphins career, but he's a really good athletic free safety. Got Tyler Nubin, who I loved last year. Paulson Adebo, who I really wanted here before we got DJ Reed. Drew Phillips ain't a bad slot corner either. And then Deontay Banks, who they drafted 2 years ago. Maybe he can live up to the bill. And they've got good pieces there. But then you look at their offense. Yes, Malik Neighbors is an ascending wide receiver. But what else have they've got? Like Darius Slayton is the definition of mid. Wandale Robinson, I know we were looking at a couple of years ago. He hasn't lived up to his bidding. Jalen Hyatt hasn't lived up to his bidding. Then 5th receiver right now is is a special teamer. And then you look at the offensive line, their best piece is John Michael Schmitz at the center. Like Andrew Thomas, while he's a good left tackle, he's about Taylor Decker level, which is good, but you probably want better. John Runyon, Greg Van Roten, Jermaine O'Leary, like these are all med players. Like I know they drafted Marcus and Bo as well as a flex offensive lineman. They've got Evan Neal drafted in the first in 2022 as well. I don't trust that offensive line, and then their tight end room, as much as we love Daniel Bellinger a couple of years ago in the draft and Thomas Fedoni this year, it ain't great. And then when their best running back is Cam Scatterby, who's by then probably will be starting, but while he would be a perfect fit here, can he carry the load by himself? Maybe, but when the team's behind that much, you basically be asked to pass block a lot for Russell Wilson, who is fading, or Jackson Dart, who'd be a rookie coming to the league when he's played in Old Miss's scheme, which we've said time and time again, does take a while to transition to the league because of how it is. I don't trust their offense at all. So that's why I have us winning big, because their defense might be able to give our offense a few fits, but I could see us getting a couple of turnovers in this game, and that might be the difference.
All right, I'm last up, and I have a win by 6. I think this is going to be closer than people think it is. I genuinely think the Giants are going to be a reasonably good team. I think Russell Wilson could hang on to this job for the whole season. I think the way that offensive line's been put together, I actually am slightly higher on it than most people are. And Russ just has to chuck it up to Neighbors. And I think that offense will kind of just be okay. And Tyrone Tracy's shown enough juice. I kind of think that's going to be okay too. Defensively, they're an absolute beast. And yeah, Ant's right. You can mitigate that to an extent. That's why it's a one-score game in our favour. We're not going to blow them away. I don't think they're that bad. I don't think they'll win, but I don't think they're that bad. Short but hopefully a bit sweeter. All of us, of course, therefore, have picked a victory. And looking at the fan decision, that is a 100% win as well. Moving into week 13, this is Thanksgiving versus Green Bay. Their previous game is a 1 o'clock game versus Minnesota, so back-to-back divisional games for Green Bay. We, of course, play the Giants on Sunday as well, so both coming off short weeks, and no advantage there in particular. I am going first, and I've talked a big game about Green Bay not being very good, but I'm only picking another win against them by 3. I won't go into it too much just because we've already talked about Green Bay. Suffice it to say, I think we have to win again in Thanksgiving. It's a Thanksgiving curse for us. We're just not good at it. But by this point, I think Green Bay are going to be scrambling to save their season, and they're going to be desperate, and it's going to show, and we're just going to put our foot on their throat and end their season right here. Ash.
I have us winning on Thanksgiving as well, by a bit more, by 7. So still 1 score, but when Green Bay project to probably come into this game with with 3 healthy receivers in Matthew Golden, Malik Heath, and maybe Dontavian Wicks, because Jaden Reed's a bit injury prone, but he's carrying an injury right now. I believe Romeo Dubs will even be there, or will even healthy, and then Savion Williams, that dude will break himself somehow. Doesn't look good for them. And then by then, Josh Jacobs would have probably lost his legs, could have run him into the ground so much. The only hope that, Green Bay might have is Toyota Font Jordan Love continues. But even then, we should be able to win it. Please. There's a prelude for next season where we'll have the nice, lovely new rivalry uniforms that we'll likely be wearing on Thanksgiving. Please win.
Many thanks to Brent DeWitt for the $2 super chat. Says a win at Philly, and I'll be hoping for a Super Bowl. Thanks very much, Brent. Appreciate you. And Big Area says, fellas, the ribs are looking great on the smoke right now. A couple of hours until they're ready. Man, you've just made me hungry. Right, we're still going through our Green Bay picks here, and the guys who aren't with us this evening. Tom has picked a win by 10. Steve will win by 7. Ryan Farden a win by 4. And to finish us off,
I've got a win by 3. Thanksgiving games are always very difficult, and it's the Packers, and they generally play us quite well when they come to Ford Field. But I've got this marked down as this is the Malcolm Rodriguez return, the revenge game. The Packers are driving in a 2-minute drill to try and win the game. He picks them off, and we settle for a field goal, and we take them off the field. That's my dream, that Rodrigo's back for this, and that's what's going to happen. So if it does, then I'm buying a lottery ticket after it does. But yeah, I think we'll beat the Packers. We'll get our vengeance on them, but I think they're a better team than you give them credit for. So I think we're going to struggle more with them.
All right, next game up is, fan vote, 86% win for that one. Week 14 versus the Dallas Cowboys, the Micah Parsonless Dallas Cowboys on week 14. Their previous game is going to be Thanksgiving against Kansas City, and we're playing on Thursday Night Football. So neither of us have more rest than the other, apart from us maybe having 3.5 hours extra. Who really cares? They're coming to us, though, which might be quite nice. And you're kicking us off for this one. What do you have?
My hot take is we're going to get a coach fired. I've got us beating the Cowboys by 20. I think they are an awful team. They definitely don't have a spine anymore. I know Kenny Clark's going to be there, but I think it's a team with no resolve, no direction. Schottenheimer's he's all over the place with that locker room right now. He's got players, the culture seems toxic there, and he does not seem in control of it in the slightest. I think they're going to have a rough year, the Cowboys, even with Dak healthy at last. And they can't put up with the way we play football. We went to their house last year and absolutely eviscerated them. They didn't put up a fight. They couldn't deal with us. Hell, we didn't even play our best game that day, really. And we sliced them to bits. I think we're going to do it again, and I think it's going to come to a late point in the year where they're really struggling, and an embarrassing performance in front of the lights convinces them that, yeah, this is not the hire for the future. I really don't see Schottenheimer lasting that long there. I think we're just going to show them up for how bad they really are, how far they are away from it, and they're going to cut ties with him. But I expect no problems against Dallas whatsoever. There's no trap game, no nothing there for me. Again, they've no backbone. They're all flair, no backbone, and teams that are all flair, no backbone don't do well against us. They get beaten out. They get beaten. So yeah, I've got us winning huge.
That is certainly a hot take, especially for a first-year head coach. First year? He's first year, isn't he? Yes,
Yeah.
Thank you. Ryan Farden's gone for a 26-point victory, not to be outdone by Ant, of course. Stephen Collins gone for an 18-point win. Tom Wilkinson a 10-point win. Ash.
I've gone modest. I've stuck with the prediction I had for the week before with a win by 7. But I agree that this Dallas team ain't it. Like, they won't be able to run the ball as much as I love Javonte Williams coming out. He ain't that anymore. Jaden Blue, well, we've just got his running back coach from college, so we should know how he goes. And then their third is Miles Sanders, great. Receiver-wise, yeah, they're just traded for George Pickens, but can he keep his cool on the field, especially if, overthrowing balls out to him? CeeDee Lamb's really damn good. Jalen Tolbert's okay, but they've only got one other guy in his returner. They're basically a Killy Freeman light in Quante Turpin, so what they're going to do? Tight end room I do love, though. Like, come on, there's 2 of my draft crushes from the past couple of years at tight end with Reverend Spanford as well. He was not too bad. Offensively, they might be okay if they're still healthy, but defensively, if we've beat them last year, like you look at their cornerback room, like Trayvon Diggs, okay, yeah, can get interceptions, also gives up the most yards in the league. They've just signed Deron Bland to a massive contract just because he's the pick 6 king. Great message to send to the fans there, paying him rather than Parsons. But their other starting corner is, oh wait, Kaya Elam, the bust. Yeah, that's definitely going to work for you. Definitely. There's ways to get around it. Like, Marshall Leland is a good edge rusher. Dante Fowler, he does okay, but by then Donovan Zaraku should be starting. There's ways around it. So yeah, while I can see maybe some of the injured players, because by then Aleem should be back, Malcolm should be back, we'll be working them back in. So we might take a bit of a while, but we still should win, especially since it's our place.
I'm last here. I'm going for a win by 12. I don't think it's a bad Dallas team. It's just not good enough. They also took a swing on Ajani Cornelius, who I eviscerated in the draft process as not being a draftable prospect. I do like Tyler Booker, though. Tyler Guyton being injured isn't going to help at the moment for them. There's not enough receivers on the team. They've just traded away their best player, which is not exactly going to be a boom for morale. Their corners are so boom and bust, it's going to be funny. They're going to get like 6 interceptions in a game, and then they're somehow going to get -1 because it's that bad sometimes. They're going to get beaten for a lot of yards over the top. Like, Trayvon Diggs was Deron Bland before he was Deron Bland, So, yeah, it's low-key, it's a fun team because you have no idea how good it's going to be week to week. They could destroy some really good teams, and then they'll be destroyed by some really bad teams, and they'll probably have 8 or 9 wins and maybe go to the playoffs. It's that sort of team. Anyway, we win.
They're not bad, but they're just not good. Isn't that an oxymoron?
Well, they're just bang in the middle. Bad, not good.
No, the definition of bad is not good. You've got
They're
to lie on the fence.
They're not good. They're not bad. They're okay. Anyway, we've all gone for a win, which makes it another full consensus victory for us. And for the chat, they have gone for a 100%er as well. Full confidence in this team. Week 15 rolls around at the LA Rams. Yet another game. Maybe against Matthew Stafford. I was about to say definitely against Matthew Stafford, but who knows whether he's going to be playing at this point. I am going for a win by 5. Don't get me wrong, though. This Rams team is... It's low-key one of the teams I really, really like in the NFL, just because the way they build themselves and what they prioritize is just very, very attractive to me in the way they play football. bringing in Devontae Adams might be a stroke of genius. Can he recapture some element of who he used to be? Because if he can, between him and Puka, and Tutu Atwell has turned himself into a functional slot receiver in this league. Like, he's low-key the Dalton line of that position. And then, the offensive line they've invested big in. I think Alaric Jackson being down is not great, but they've brought in DJ Humphries. Let's see how that goes. Garoppolo being Stafford insurance is really good. Jimmy G really, fell off a cliff, but it's the sort of offense that you should be able to run. And, McVay has been able to get the best out of his quarterbacks historically. And then on defense, with Fisk and Verse and Young and Ford, and then, I really like Curlin Kinchins. The corners are a concern. Darius Williams, Quentin Lake, Akello Witherspoon. As much as I like Witherspoon, he's not fantastic. So they're going to have to win in spite of their cornerbacks. Emmanuel Forbes Jr., the former first-round pick, is a backup over there. That's how far he's fallen. We should be able to get past them. So I've got a win by 5 in their place. If Stafford's playing, that man's gritty as hell, and he's going to want to get a win. Have they beaten us since he moved over? I don't know.
Yes.
No.
The first
year.
Yeah,
the first year, yeah.
Okay.
But only just.
He's going to be
fake punt game.
He's going to be very
beat the Super.
Yeah. He's going to be very, very hungry to win this game, given the number of times we've reeled off a win since then. So they ain't going to be giving this one up. Going to be giving this one up easily. Anyway, Ash, you take it from here because I've talked enough.
Yeah, I feel similarly. I've got a narrow victory of 3 just because it'll be at their place. So we've got to factor in, obviously, like the travel to the West Coast and all that. And it is a really good team if you just look at their one deep, as you said. Well, they have a couple of injuries by then, maybe, but they've got a fierce. That defensive line is fearsome. And again, it comes down to that interior trio of Braden Fisk, Kobe Turner. We know how much I love them too. And then Poona Ford's a good nose tackle in the league. So and got some backups there that can do stuff. And obviously we know how much I love Verse. It'll be a fight. I can see it going each way, but we just have that edge again where we get a couple of points where they don't on the drive, and it proves the difference in the end.
All right, Tom, Steve, and Ryan. Tom has a loss by 3. Steve has a win by 7. Ryan Farden has a loss by 7. And to finish us off,
I've got a win by 12. I don't think there's any chance in hell that Stafford's still playing by this point of the year. I think his back's going to give out by the time that he's done. So I fully expect us to be playing Jimmy Garoppolo, and I fully expect Jimmy Garoppolo to get touched so much by Aiden Hutchinson that his wife divorces him, because he's just absolutely static in the pocket. Hutch is going to have a lot of fun with that one. And, again, your offense is only good as much as you can protect your quarterback, and Jimmy doesn't have that star aura that Stafford does. I mean, their defense is good. The defensive line is frisky, but it can only be frisky for so long before it gets beaten into submission. I fully expect us to win the time of possession battle for this, and put them to sleep. I just don't think it is a good young Rams team, but I just don't think it's a great NFL team right now. It's an emerging one, and again, until they restart over at quarterback and they start the build again properly, because they haven't really, since the Super Bowl. They've had a soft rebuild, not a proper one, and they needed a proper one. I just don't think they're that good a level of opposition right now. So, yeah, I think we're going to beat them easily, 12, because Stafford won't be playing. He'll be out hurt by this point, and Jimmy's nothing compared to him.
all right. Week 16 versus Pittsburgh. Sorry, I didn't say about the Rams. They're coming off a 425 kick against Arizona before they then play us. Pittsburgh, week 16, they're coming off Monday Night Football versus Miami. They're then travelling to us, so a short week for them. And you're kicking us off for week 16 versus Pittsburgh. What do you have?
I'm going to do my best Ryan McCluskey impression here. This is going to overtime, because the last, I think it's 3 games we've played against the Steelers have been some of the worst experiences of my life. they're just a team that when we play each other, like their pass rush completely shuts down our offense and then vice versa because they never have a run game. Like we just keep everything from all these mediocre quarterbacks they've got in check and they can't really score. And they're painful to watch. It's terrible. And I think I'm not expecting any different. It just feels like it's going to be one of these really gritty affairs with a team that's just so difficult to put away and it has to go to overtime until we eventually beat them. Like we hit a walk-off field goal in there. I love this Steelers team. Every time I have a draft prospect, I love they take them from me. So this is a team that I would have built in a lot of cases, with a lot of great young talent there, and just the right amount of young veterans in there. I mean, it's such a great defense. It always is. It's just full from top to bottom of great talent. Offense is where they're going to live or die by. I think they're okay. They've got enough to hang in a close game if their defense could shut us down for a bit. But yeah, I'm going for the overtime win. This is the trap one. If there's going to be a trap game all year, especially with Aaron and him being himself. In fact, that's what can happen. We get to overtime. Aaron gets picked off by Kirby. We hit a walk-off field goal. There we go. That's the storyline. But yeah, they're just a pain in the arse, so difficult to beat, and I think they really are going to be a trap game for us. But yeah, we win, just.
Three guys who are not here have gone win by 5 for Ryan Varden, win by 16 for Steve, win by 8 for Tom Ash.
Well, we all know one thing I want in this game. It goes without saying. Mivers winning by 10. Because, yes, their defense is pretty damn good, at least on the defensive line side. I know Derek Coleman might be back by then with his injury, but even without him, you're looking at Keanu Benton, Cameron Hayward, Yaya Black's not too bad, TJ Watt, Zach Sawyer, Alex Highsmith, Nate Herbig. They've got pieces. But then you look at that secondary. As much as we love Slay, he is what he is at this point. Jalen Ramsey, as much as I want to be an FSU homer, he is what he is at this point. Joe Porter Jr. is a good corner. But they're also starting to Sean Elliott and Juan Thornhill as their starting safeties. And then one of their backups is Miles Killebrew, a.k.a. the original special team safety in Detroit before CJ Moore existed. There's weaknesses, especially on secondary, for us to attack. So if our offensive line can just, hold up against that defensive line long enough, we should be able to pass the ball. And then on their offense, they've just given Jalen Warren a massive contract. We signed him literally today for that. So him, Caleb Johnson, who I know had some good prospects in the draft, went in the third. It will come down to, can A-Rod show anything, especially behind the offensive line, which is got some good pieces, but especially on that left-hand side of Samalu and Broderick Jones, might be a bit weak, especially by then if something happens. And then starting Andrus Pete there, who, was injured. It is injury prone. We've known that. And then they're starting Calvin Austin as their slot receiver, who's not exactly great either. So if you're able to shut down DK Metcalf and Rowan Wilson, which Psychotarian is on the uprise. Look at some of the comments he's made today about pressing his own mum and not being sorry about it. And then DJ Reed, I fully expect a Meek or whoever's in the slot come this game to shut down Calvin Austin, which will set up the one thing that we all know I want deep in my heart, and we all know whose jersey I'll be wearing watching this game. Kirby Joseph will pick six Aaron Rodgers' ass and kick him out the NFL for good. He can go smoke ayahuasca, whatever dark cave he wants. You're done.
I have a win by 8. The defense is maybe the best in the league. I think it's absolutely fantastic. And they took Jack Sawyer, which I love and still think he's going to be a good player in this league. On offense, I'd be really surprised if they start Calvin Austin in the slot over Roman Wilson. I would flip them. I prefer Austin being the Z and Wilson being the slot, but whatever. That offensive line worries me. Like, Sumalo is fine, but he's not a world beater. And then none of the other players have more than 2 years' experience. Super young. Broderick Jones is... Zach Frazier, I'm really hopeful. But Mason McCormick had some teething issues, but hopeful for him. Troy Fontenot should be really good. But again, it's so young. There's no one there that's going to lead that team. and they'll be relying on Aaron to do all the work behind him, who isn't exactly the most mobile. You have to get after him. I'm going to go for our other safety doing the business in this game. I'm going for Branch for a couple of picks in this game. Win by 8. We have another 6er out of 6. The fans have gone for a 90% victory. They went for a 62% victory in the Rams game as well. All right, to get on the home stretch, 2 games left, both in division. First is at Minnesota. I'm up, and I have a loss by 2. Minnesota, as I said before, really strong team. Think they're much better than the Packers. They'll be jostling for seeding at this point along with us. They might want it more than us, if I'm frank. At this point, I have us going up to week 16. I have us at 13-2. We're already locking it up for me. But Minnesota can get the 5 seed with a good final couple of games. And they eke out a narrow victory with a Lions team who is already got one eye on the playoffs. Ash.
It pains me because I also have a loss. Because I hate it. I was going through it, and I was going through it. It's just like, I had us winning more games, and I had to just go back and be like, there's just no way we're going to be winning this amount of games. And I just saw this Minnesota game. I was like, it's at their place. They're going to be fired up. It's on Netflix, which fucking sucks. It's on Christmas. We're having to cut all this short. And I could just see the players hating it. And with the home advantage of Minnesota not having to travel and that, them winning just about, like, the only good grace about it is that hopefully me and other people have nice new JMO jerseys to wear during the game. So that'll be nice. But it'll be a painful, close loss. Like, you remember the one we had, I think it was the second year, where we went for a field goal and then they won by a field goal, and Dan said he regrets that. I can see that situation happening again. It's just something that you just can't control. Like, we leave them just enough time just to get in field goal range of like one big JJ McCarthy hit again, like a cross or something, and they kick the field goal to win, and it will suck. It will suck.
3 guys who are not here, their results are: Tom has gone for a loss by 9, Steve has gone for a loss by 1, and Ryan Farden's gone for a win by 3. Ant.
I've got a win by 7. Again, over 1,000 days since this team last beat us. They don't have the spine to beat us. And when do they specifically bend? Towards the end of the season, when games start to matter. They love going into these regular season games that don't mean a lot and playing well. But when this team's put under the slightest bit of pressure, they fold like a deck of cards. And, we're realizing at this point in the season now, Aleem's back, Rodrigo's back. This entire team is, and of course, I'm not naive enough to think we're going to have injuries by then, but by this point, we're going to have all our top players back. So, are you running through Aleem and, are you keeping Hutch and Davenport at bay? Are you able to deal with the collective of this? This team's going to be hungry, and we're going to have a lot of players who won't have played a lot of football who will want to get up and running. So, I don't think this team's going to slack off. I don't think the team's going to let the gas go. You've got to carry on playing well. And again, we have the Vikings number because they can't deal with the style of football we play, whether it be home, whether it be away. We still beat them at the US Bank, just like we do at Ford Field. And again, I just until proven otherwise, they've got the spine of a jellyfish. I still think we're going to beat them. I think it's going to be the one after where we'll struggle.
All right. Worth mentioning that game. Minnesota are coming off a 1 p.m. game at the Giants before going back to their place for us to play them. We now move into the final game of the season at Chicago on a date to be decided. They're coming off Sunday Night Football at San Francisco, so they will be on shorter rest than we will be. And Ant, you have the honour for our last run here.
I think this will be the one where, if anything, it's the last week of the year where we're liable to be resting, where we're liable to be prone to an upset. I have us losing by a score again. The NFC North games are not easy. I don't know what the Bears are going to be doing at this point, but there's a chance, they're fighting for pride. Maybe there's an outside shot of the playoffs for them, but at this point, I've got us at 13 wins. That's enough to get in. I think this is one of those near the end of the season that we can let slide before the real playoffs begin. So I do have us losing. If there's any part of this game which has a competitive edge to it, and we need anything from it, then I would change this and say, well, absolutely can wallop them, but I don't think we're going to at that point.
The guys who are not here have Brian Farden has a loss by 10. Stephen Collins has a win by 17. Tom has a win by 3. Ash.
I can see him, potentially fighting for wild card and us not having much riding on it, to be honest. But at the same time, Jared Goff hates the cold weather narrative. They usually do fight us close, but we've got that sort of mentality of, wow, fuck Ben. The players would definitely have that. They'll be like, we don't want him getting the playoffs. We don't want him doing good. We don't want him to win against us. And that just gives us the edge just to win at their own place by 3. What I just said with Minnesota, I then see us doing to the Bears in the week after. Caleb and Ben, he does have some bad clock management sometimes. The way he managed our offense gives us just enough time for Goff to hit JMO on a nice, lovely post, front of their safeties, to get Jake Bates in range for a league record-breaking long field goal, just to really stick the middle fingers at a pin.
And I'm going to finish this one off. I have a win by 18. I agree with the narrative that we don't want Ben to do anything. And Ben will come into this game wanting to win the last game of the season because it's what the Lions do. Finish strong, go into the off-season with something to hang your hat on. Unfortunately, with the Lions coming off a loss in week 17 and the Lions wanting to finish strong, I really feel like they're going to decide to put the hammer down in this game. They maybe took their foot off the gas against the Vikings, and that is not going to go down well with Dan Campbell. And I think they're going to look at the Bears and lick their lips and say, we can absolutely destroy this team before going into the bye as the 1 seed again. That means that we have consensus gone for a win in that game as well with 4 out of 6. In terms of the votes for this game, 88% of people have gone for a win too. And so it's time to run down the final scores for everyone and thoughts. In terms of the fan vote, they have gone for 14 wins on a 14-3 stretch. Our consensus also has us at 14 wins. Which, of course, I would be able to reveal if I was not being thick. I have us going 14 wins as well, I believe, and I think I am the highest of everyone here. Ash has 13, Ant has 13, Ryan Farden and Stephen Collins have 12, and Tom, for the second year in a row, is the lowest on us with 11 wins. In terms of points difference, the highest is Stephen Collins with 119, Ant is second with 103, I'm third with 88. Ash is fourth. No, Tom is fourth with 74. Ash is fifth with 66, despite being a 13-win person. Ryan Farden's lowest with 52. So that's how it all shakes out. Why don't we start with you? And we go in the first stretch before the bye 5-2. We finish up with another 8 wins and 2 losses down the stretch. Finish with a loss at Chicago. How are you feeling after a 13-4 season going into the playoffs?
This is me being I've brought optimistic me to the table here. I was thinking about it and I thought I'm going to go on the side of being a bit more of an optimistic fan. If we get 13, I will be absolutely delighted. Personally, I probably think it's going to be closer to 10. There's a lot of these hard road trips where it just might turn, because obviously in this situation, I've got us beating the Ravens, the Chiefs, and the Bengals on the road, a couple of those down. But again, I don't give a damn about the regular season. I really don't. I get what you're saying. If you only win 8 or 9, it shows maybe problems in your team. But I just don't care. I want to see us play good playoff football. That's really the only thing I want to see. I want to see that they're mentally tough enough to go into the games in January and, and win. Because last year we saw them freeze, which we've not seen yet. They were expected to win. They were favourites. We're in the final sort of metamorphosis of this team now, going from worst in the league to Super Bowl winner. It's that mental change. We're not the chased anymore. We're not people aren't coming up onto our porch and stuff. We've got to go after people. We've got to be the aggressor. We can't go with the narrative that we're that we're the ones backed into a corner anymore. You've got to start thinking like a winner, thinking like a champion, and playing like one. So, it can be done by the regular season, but for me, if we scrape 9 wins and then play like a champion in the postseason, I'll take that any single day of the week over winning 15 again. So I think it's so wide what we could finish with this year. Again, I think 13 is very optimistic from my point of view, but I just want us to play well in the postseason. That's all I give a damn about this year. It's a big year for this team. Not accepting a first round defeat in the playoffs again. If I am, I'm starting to question this build. I'm starting to question this team and its mental ability to be able to go all the way. Like, you've got to keep the standards raising here. We can't just be happy with. I don't want to be the Bills and the Ravens. I just don't want to be in that situation. So, yeah, we get 13. I'm jumping from the roof and doing well, but it's all about what happens after the season that matters. What happens before, again, don't really care about.
I do think it's quite funny that the 3 people who have not appeared on here but have submitted picks are the ones who've predicted 12 and 11 wins, whereas the people here who are on 13 and 14. That's interesting to me as a wrinkle. But anyway, Ash, you also went 8 and 2 down the stretch after starting 5 and 2. We have exactly the same record except for a difference in Tampa Bay, so I think that's quite funny in itself. But how are you feeling going into the playoffs? Is that enough for the 1 seed, 13?
Probably not. I'd probably have Philadelphia making it just because, they get to play the Giants twice and the Cowboys twice, which are all, give them nice 4 easy wins. As someone's coming at me just for being so high in the team. I think she wants more wins. I think Freya does, because she's going to biting at my legs. Stop. The thing that I think is probably most contentious to me is obviously the fact I've got our point differential so low. And you look up, I think it's just because you look at what I've predicted. I was having a load of close games just because while we definitely are a great team, especially early in the season, I can see us having those struggles. And we don't have those teams like we did last year where we played like Tennessee and all that, where we were able to get 30, 40-point victories. You look at our schedule, most of the teams we're playing have at least one side of the ball that they can hang their hat on and keep the game close. I know. What, were you going to agree with me? Why not? Come on. I can agree with my analysis here. But you look like the only ones we're playing that are bad are Cleveland and the Giants, and even them, like, they've got some good defensive lines that they can maybe do some damage to us. So what I could be completely wrong. It could be double that, and I would not be surprised. But I can just see a load more close games in our future than we did last season. But the good news is that means we'll have that sort of battle-tested adversity. So when it's close in the playoffs, when we're going up against Philadelphia again, when we're going against Tampa again, we'll be a lot more battle-tested and able to grit it through. And hopefully some of the depth players will be blooded as well and will just be good for the playoffs. And that's the main thing. Like, doesn't matter now about September to November football. It's about what we do in the playoffs. And I hope, and I do predict right now, that we will do a lot better in the playoffs than we did last year. There we go. You happy now?
I have us at 14 wins after a loss to Minnesota in week 17. That's enough for the 1 seed for me. I think Philly are in a low-key, more difficult division than people think. I think the Giants are going to raise the floor of that division. Absolutely delighted at how it's gone. Losses to Philly and Baltimore and Minnesota is incredible. There are some close games in there, and if some flip, that would not surprise me whatsoever. The sky doesn't fall in unless we're lower than 10 wins. 10 wins, making the playoffs, is fine. But I really think we should be winning the Super Bowl. Not making it is not making expectations right now. You have to win the championship game. And if you don't, I'm not going to say that anyone's job's at risk or anything like that, because that's ridiculous. But that's the expectation. That's how good this team is. So perform. Go and do it. Be healthy down the stretch. Don't have any excuses. Actually go and win the games. I think it's as simple as that. We've also got predictions for the division winners, which we'll just reveal now very quickly. And you don't have yours in there, I must say, at the moment. But
I'll just do it on the fly as we go.
yeah, so NFC North winners, everyone listed has Detroit. And are you Detroit as well?
Yeah.
So I don't think there's any mad discussion there. For the NFC South, there's a mix of people between Atlanta and Tampa Bay. 3 for Atlanta, 2 for Tampa Bay. And
I think it's... I swear we already did this at some point.
we did it on the 24-hour live stream as a thing, but this is the actual predictions that we're giving points for now.
I'm pretty sure that I made the bold prediction that the Panthers might do it this year, so I feel like maybe I can't deviate from that. I will still say maybe the Panthers shock everybody and do it. I'm going to stick with them.
Right. I've added an extra point for getting each division winner right, which might change quite a lot. But hey, they're not throwaway predictions. So you sure you want to put in Carolina with a point on the line?
Yeah, I don't flip-flop my views. I believe in them.
Fair enough. Everyone has Philly in the East, and
yeah, Philly.
All right. The West is a bit more of a battle. We've got 3 votes for the Rams, 1 for San Francisco, and 1 for Arizona. And
I'm going to be the opposite. I'm going to say Seattle.
I love it. That's maybe, low-key, the most interesting division in football this year. Maybe not the best, but they're so close to each other.
As soon as Stafford goes down, the Rams season's over, and it's a matter of if, not when. So, yeah, I don't think they're going to do it.
AFC North, 4 votes for Baltimore, 1 for Cincinnati, and
yeah, Ravens.
Everyone's gone for Houston in the South. And
Drugs. Yeah, there's not really anyone else in there, is there? Yeah, I'll go with consensus.
Yeah, you're not going for Daniel Jones's Colts.
No, believe it or not. They're going to run QB by committee there eventually, and it's going to be a nightmare.
QB rotation, the new evolution of the guard rotation.
That's it.
For the AFC West, I'm not sure if the fans are going to believe this, but we've got 3 different teams being voted for here. We've got 3 votes for the Chiefs, 1 for the Denver Broncos, and 1 for the LA Chargers. Who do you have, Ant? Are you going to complete this one too and go for the Raiders and be a rogue?
No, I'm not stupid. I'm bold, but not stupid, I believe is the term. You know what? Actually, give me the Broncos. I think it's, after a decade, it's time for someone else to win that division now. And yeah, I think the Chiefs drop-off's going to be bigger this year. And there's nothing wrong with that because they've dominated football the last half decade, and we'd all take one down season for that level of dominance. So yeah, I've got the Broncos.
And then finally, everyone has gone for Buffalo in the East. And
Pats, Dolphins, Jets. Yeah, Bills, for sure.
we did have a question from Grandizer just saying, are there any teams, good or bad, who you think are really going to surprise us this year? So let's just close with that. Are there any teams that you think you're kind of wildly different on compared to everybody else?
Well, there's an obvious one.
If there's an obvious answer, then is it that different, though? Who are you going for?
Cardinals, because I'm the only one that's predicted them to win the AFC West. Because as we discussed on the live show, yeah, when Stafford goes down, Bram season's over. Can Seattle have a good offense with Sam Darnold under center and, aging weapons and a bad offense line? We don't know. Can San Francisco get back to the heights they have when they've traded away a load of their pieces and they currently have no wide receivers? We don't know. The only team the team that has the least questions is Arizona. So they might be the new NFC South where everyone's so bad that the team that has the least questions wins. And for me, that's Arizona, which might seem bad. It might come true. It probably won't. But right now, they're the team I have the least questions about. So they're the ones I'm picking to win a division, which I know pretty much no one else is going to agree with. And I'm happy to stand on my lonesome, like I did on the college pick watch, and it worked. So
this is going to be a bit of a slower burn for you, but hey. And I'm guessing you're going to say Carolina then.
Yeah, think so.
Anyone that you think is going to shit the bed, that no one else is going to think so, that they're a good team and actually you think they're going to miss out on the playoffs, or they're a mid-level team, but you think they're going to be the number one pick conversation?
Honestly, like I say, I think it's the Chiefs' year to regress. I really, really do. I feel like it's the regression's going to be quite big compared to the norm. Not saying they still don't have great players, but I think this is the year where potentially they restart again and they just blow the thing up. So, it's the Chiefs. Who have we got?
So I've got a couple of teams that I think are gonna be. So I haven't given my good teams, so I'll give my good teams now. I think the Giants are gonna make the playoffs. I know that's not going to be popular. I think 3 teams come out the East, and not one of them's Dallas. Dallas will go 9-8 and be 4th in division. I think Giants could get to 10-7 and make it. We'll see how that ages, but just kind of believe in what they've done a little bit. The other team that I think could be good, I did have one in my mind. Oh, Atlanta, I think, will be the 2 seed behind us. I think Philly will be 3. I've just believed in them for a long time, and I like what they've done. And if Penix is the real deal, then there's no reason that team can't be really good. Teams that will shit the bed. I did have one in mind, but I don't anymore. So Ash, sorry.
Green Bay. I could. The thing that's pushed over is the Michael Parsons, because the hype train on them is so fucking big right now that I can just see it imploding. It's not going to work. Like Michael Parsons, he will probably get a bazillion. He will be this year's Trey Hendrickson. He will get all the sacks in the world, but it won't be the Jots.
I include the Bears in that then, because if there's off-season hype behind anyone, it's them.
Yeah, you can put the Bears for sure.
They'll struggle to get bowl qualification this year.
See, the thing is that a bold shout when it happens every year that they win the offseason and yet they never live up to that?
But people actually believe in them this year, including me and including others. It's not just hype from the Bears side. They've genuinely invested in a way which should work.
They're Delulu. Yeah. They're completely Delulu. Thinking that the Green Bay Packers went and got Parsons because of Ben and Caleb. It's like, really?
What, Ash?
It's just hearing Ant say Delulu. Like,
okay, well, I'm gonna shock everyone, I think, with my pick for shit the bed. I'm going for the Denver Broncos. We talked about sophomore slump. Why not Bo Nix? Seriously, he looks so much better than people thought he was going to be year one. And that offensive line is borderline not good. Like, okay, fine. You've got Quinn Miners. They're starting Mike McGlinchey. Good luck with that. Garrett Bowles, whatever. Ben Powers, Luke Wattenberg. Who is this team?
I mean, isn't it the same line they had last year? They won a lot of games with, pretty much.
But they surprised everyone with that. It's the same argument that I have with Washington.
But you've got one of the most experienced head coaches in the league.
Maybe, sure.
You know, that's why it's different to the others.
But you're relying again on Zach Allen being low-key top 3 edge player in the NFL, and you know,
no more than we're relying on Aiden Hutchinson to be a top 3 player in the NFL, really. Like, that's exactly what we need off him.
I'll extend that to entire defensive line. He was a top 3 defensive line player in the NFL last year. I'll stand by that, but he's got to back that up again for Denver to be this good. And Pat Surtain, it's like, defense is volatile, and that's what they hang their hat on. And, is Mims going to turn into what he could be, or is he not? And Sutton, fine. Troy Franklin being a big part of that team, I just don't like. I don't know. I just don't believe.
Who would have thought it? You're saying that John Morton was that big of a loss for them?
I am. It was huge. All right. Any further comments before we get out of here?
I just find it funny that Rashid Walker has now proceeded to predict Super Bowl for the Green Bay Packers. You stupid boy. Now, no wonder he's losing the left tackle battle to Jordan Morgan, if that's what he's thinking.
To all teams listening out there, I will change my view on you and look on you more favourably if you have some fun this week and run your backup quarterback on as a punter and run a fake punt, like USF did the other day.
Loved it.
Yeah, great play.
I will look on you more favourably if we have some of that. We had some wonderful trick plays in college at the weekend, so I want to see some of them in the league ASAP.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Let's wrap this up. College football podcast coming up later on in the week. Penciled in for Wednesday?
Yeah.
Looking back at week 1, looking ahead to week 2, one of the best week 1s in college football history. You'll have to tune into the guys to hear about it. Find us at, main podcast. Coming back for game 1 preview. It's going to be much later than normal on Friday evening US time, probably Eastern time at least. So do check us out then. UK time probably 10 p.m, something like that, maybe later. I have another engagement. I can't promise I won't be a little bit drunk as well, but apologies for that. You know where to find us on our socials. It's been a long show. Thank you so much for your support throughout the off season. But the next episodes we will do on the main show, we're actually talking about a damn game and in some detail. So I hope you can join us for that and the college show this week. But for now, have a great rest of your week. Thanks to Ash and Ant and everyone for listening. But for now, regular season's here, guys. Let's go Lions, One Pride.
One Pride.
Recording stopped.